For 4,500 years, it has stood in the desert, the last surviving wonder of the ancient world, the only one left. 2 million blocks of stone, stacked higher than any building on Earth for the next 3,000 years. Tonight, we journey inside, to walk corridors no tourist ever sees, to meet the workers who built this impossible monument, and to fall asleep beneath the stars of ancient Egypt. Close your eyes. Let the desert's ancient silence embrace you. There is a mountain in the desert that was not made by nature. It rises from the golden sands of Egypt, 4,500 years old, built by human hands from 2 million blocks of stone. It was the tallest structure on Earth for nearly 4 millennia. It remains the largest, the most precisely built, and the most mysterious monument ever constructed by humankind. The Great Pyramid of Giza. Tonight, we journey to the western bank of the Nile, to a limestone plateau where 3 pyramids stand against the endless sky. We will walk where pharaohs walked. We will enter passages carved in stone before the wheel was invented in this land. We will stand in chambers that have held silence for 45 centuries. We will meet the workers who built this wonder, not slaves, as legend once told, but skilled craftsmen and proud laborers who ate beef and bread, who were buried with honor near the monument they created. We will read the diary of a man named Mira, who sailed boats laden with limestone up the Nile, leaving us the oldest written account of the pyramid's construction. We will explore mysteries that remain unsolved. Hidden chambers detected by cosmic rays, corridors that have not been seen by human eyes since the pyramid was sealed. The question of how, precisely, ancient engineers achieved precision that rivals modern technology. There is no test tomorrow, no notes to take, no need to remember anything at all. Simply rest and let the ancient stones rise around you, block by block, layer by layer, until you are surrounded by the weight and silence of 4,500 years. Let us begin in a land shaped by a river, under a sun that has watched empires rise and fall, where a young civilization first dreamed of building monuments that would outlast time itself. Before there was a pyramid, there was the Nile. The Greek historian Herodotus, visiting Egypt around 500 years before the Common Era, called this land the gift of the river. He was not being poetic. He was being precise. Without the Nile, there would be no Egypt. There would be no civilization here at all, only desert, endless and unforgiving, stretching from the Mediterranean to the mountains of Ethiopia. Imagine standing on the banks of the Nile 6,000 years ago. The river moves slowly past you, wide and brown, carrying the silt of distant highlands. The water is warm in summer, cool in winter. It smells of mud and growing things, of life in abundance. To your left and right, the narrow ribbon of green, fields and palm groves, villages and gardens, hugs the riverbank. Beyond that green, almost immediately, the desert begins. Tan and gold, rocky and sandy, hostile to all but the hardiest creatures. The transition is stark. One step you are in the land of the living. The next, the land of the dead. The ancient Egyptians understood this geography as theology. The east, where the sun rose, was the land of the living. The west, where the sun set, was the realm of the dead. The Great Pyramids of Giza stand on the west bank of the Nile. They were always meant to be monuments of eternity, houses for pharaohs who would live forever in the afterlife. Each year, the Nile flooded. The rains in the Ethiopian highlands swelled the river until it overflowed its banks, spreading across the valley floor. When the waters receded, they left behind a layer of rich black silt, fertile soil thick with nutrients, perfect for growing crops. The Egyptians called their country Kemet, the Black Land, after this dark, life-giving soil. The desert beyond was Deshret, the Red Land, a place of danger and death. The flood came every year, as regular as the seasons. The farmers knew when to plant and when to harvest. The priests calculated the calendar. The pharaoh, divine intermediary between gods and humans, ensured that the cosmic order was maintained, that the Nile continued to rise, that the sun continued to cross the sky. This predictable rhythm, flood and planting, growth and harvest, gave ancient Egypt something rare in the ancient world: surplus. More food than was needed to survive, more people than were needed to farm, more time than was needed just to exist. and so there was time to build. The Giza Plateau sits about 8 kilometers west of the modern Nile, though in ancient times the river flowed closer. The plateau is elevated above the floodplain, safe from the annual inundation, made of solid limestone that could bear the weight of monuments. Looking east from the plateau, you would have seen the ribbon of green, the glittering river, the temples and towns of the living. Looking west, you would have seen only desert, the realm where the sun died each evening, only to be reborn each morning. It was the perfect place to build a tomb for a god-king, a launching point for the pharaoh's journey to the stars. The ancient Egyptians did not see death as we do. For them, death was not an ending but a transformation. The body might cease to breathe, the heart might cease to beat, but the soul, the ka and the ba, the vital essence and the personality, would continue, would rise to join the imperishable stars, the circumpolar stars that never set below the horizon, that will eternally around the celestial pole. The pyramid was not merely a tomb. It was a machine for resurrection, a monument designed to protect the pharaoh's body, preserve his identity, and launch his spirit into eternal life. And one pharaoh would build the greatest such machine the world has ever seen. The Great Pyramid was not Egypt's first pyramid. It was not even the first Great Pyramid. Before Khufu dreamed his dream in stone, his father had already built 3. The age of pyramid building, what scholars call the Old Kingdom, began around 2687 before the Common Era and lasted for more than 5 centuries. During this period, spanning roughly the 3rd through 6th dynasties, the pharaohs of Egypt commanded the resources of a unified nation to build monuments that would stand forever. The first pyramid was built by a pharaoh named Djoser around 2650 before the Common Era. It rose at Saqqara, south of modern Cairo, in 6-stepped layers, not the smooth-sided shape we picture when we think of pyramids, but a staircase ascending toward heaven. Djoser's architect was a man named Imhotep, one of the few non-royal names to survive from this ancient period. He was a genius, later worshipped as a god of medicine and wisdom. His stepped pyramid was revolutionary, the first monumental building in human history constructed entirely of stone. After Djoser came other pharaohs, other pyramids. Some were successful, others collapsed. The architects were learning, experimenting, pushing the limits of what was possible. And then came Snefru. Snefru was the first pharaoh of the 4th dynasty, reigning from approximately 2613 to 2589 before the Common Era. He was a prolific builder, the most prolific pyramid builder in Egyptian history. He constructed not 1, not 2, but 3 major pyramids. His first attempt at Midam appears to have collapsed during or after construction. What remains today looks like a tower rising from rubble, the inner core exposed, the outer layers fallen away. His second pyramid, at Dosha, is called the bent pyramid for its distinctive shape. Partway up, the angle of the sides changes dramatically, from over 54 degrees to about 43 degrees. Some scholars believe the builders changed the angle when they saw cracks appearing, fearing another collapse. His third pyramid, also at Dosha, is called the Red Pyramid for the reddish hue of its limestone blocks. It was Egypt's first true smooth-sided pyramid, rising at a gentle angle of about 43 degrees. It was the largest pyramid in Egypt until his son built something greater. Snefru moved more stone than any other pharaoh. His 3 pyramids together contain more material than the Great Pyramid. But it was his son who would build the single most impressive monument. Snefru's wife was a woman named Hetepheres. She was the daughter of Huni, the last pharaoh of the 3rd dynasty. Her marriage to Snefru joined 2 great royal bloodlines, legitimizing his claim to the throne and securing the succession for their children. Their son was named Khufu. The god Khnum protects me. We know him as Khufu. The Greeks would later call him Cheops. Khufu became the 2nd pharaoh of the 4th dynasty. The exact length of his reign remains debated. The Turin Kings List, an ancient Egyptian document, suggests approximately 23 years. The Greek historian Herodotus claimed 50 years. Another ancient source credits him with 63. Modern analysis of dated records suggests he may have reigned approaching 30 years. However long he ruled, it was long enough to build the largest pyramid ever constructed. Khufu had a large family, at least 9 sons and 15 daughters. 2 of his sons, Djedefre and Khafre, would themselves become pharaohs. Khafre would build the second pyramid at Giza, slightly smaller than his father's but appearing taller because it stands on higher ground. Khafre is also believed to have commissioned the Great Sphinx. Menkaure, Khufu's grandson, would build the third and smallest of the 3 Giza pyramids. 3 generations, 3 pyramids, 1 plateau. A family monument that would outlast every other royal lineage in human history. Who was Khufu? The honest answer is, we do not know as much as we would like. The man who built the largest monument in human history left remarkably little personal record. We have no extensive biography, no detailed account of his reign, no tomb paintings depicting his life as we have for later pharaohs. The Greek historian Herodotus, writing about 2,000 years after Khufu's death, painted a harsh portrait. According to Herodotus, Khufu was a cruel tyrant who closed the temples, forced his people into slavery to build his pyramid, and even prostituted his own daughter for money. But Herodotus was writing 2 millennia after the fact, recording stories he heard from Egyptian priests who had their own agendas. There is no contemporary evidence supporting this characterization. In fact, the evidence we do have suggests something quite different. Khufu was worshipped as a god after his death. His cult, the religious practice of honoring and offering to his spirit, continued for more than 2,000 years, well into the Roman period. People do not worship tyrants for millennia after their deaths. They worship great kings, benefactors, heroes. The small ivory figurine that is the only certain image of Khufu, now in the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, shows a man with a strong, dignified face. It is barely 8 centimeters tall, the smallest royal sculpture from ancient Egypt, yet it represents the builder of the largest royal monument. We know that Khufu expanded Egypt's mining operations, particularly at Wadi Maghera in the Sinai Peninsula, the terraces of turquoise. Impressive rock-cut reliefs there show the pharaoh smiting enemies and claiming resources for his kingdom. We know he extended Egypt's borders and maintained the prosperity his father had established. We know he organized the greatest construction project in human history with remarkable efficiency. And we know from the graffiti left by the workers who built his pyramid that they called their work gangs by names that honored him: friends of Khufu, drunkards of Khufu, companions of Khufu. These were not the names of men who hated their king. The ancient Egyptians called the Great Pyramid Akhet Khufu, the horizon of Khufu. It was the place where the pharaoh would rise and set like the sun itself, eternal and unchanging. When Khufu looked out from his palace in Memphis, he would have seen his pyramid rising on the western horizon, a perfect triangle against the sky, its white limestone casing gleaming in the sun. It must have seemed like a second sunrise, a man-made mountain that rivaled the work of the gods. He would not live to see it completed. Construction likely continued for several years after his death, with his son Djedefre overseeing the final work. But Khufu had laid the plans, commanded the resources, inspired the workers. The pyramid was his vision made real. And 4,500 years later, it still stands, the only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world that has survived more or less intact. A monument not just to one pharaoh's ego, but to human ambition, human skill, human capacity to dream beyond the limits of a single lifetime. For centuries, people believed the pyramids were built by slaves. This idea comes largely from Herodotus, who claimed that 100,000 workers were driven by whips to raise Khufu's monument. It was reinforced by biblical imagery, the Israelites making bricks under Egyptian taskmasters, and by Hollywood films showing masses of chained laborers dragging stones beneath a merciless sun. But modern archaeology has completely overturned this picture. The pyramids were not built by slaves. They were built by Egyptian workers, farmers, craftsmen, conscripts serving their duty to the state. They were fed and housed and cared for. They were buried with honor near the monument they created. We know this because we found their village. In 1988, American archaeologist Mark Lenner and his team began excavating a site about 400 meters south of the Great Sphinx. What they discovered over the following decades changed everything we thought we knew about pyramid construction. They called it Hayt el Ghurab, the Wall of the Crow, but it is better known as the Lost City of the Pyramid Builders. This was not a slave camp. It was a carefully planned settlement, covering roughly 40,000 square meters, housing the administrative apparatus, the support staff, and the workers themselves. There were bakeries producing thousands of loaves of bread daily, breweries making beer, the staple drink of ancient Egypt, storage facilities, workshops, administrative offices where scribes tracked supplies and labor. And there were living quarters. The workers lived in long, narrow structures that archaeologists call galleries, barracks-style buildings where crews slept and ate together. Each gallery could house perhaps 50 men. The overall workforce has been estimated at around 20,000 workers, a fifth of what Herodotus claimed, plus support personnel, cooks and bakers, physicians and priests, administrators and overseers. Most remarkably, we found their food. The bones tell the story. Archaeologists found the remains of cattle, sheep, and goats, more than 4,000 pounds of meat slaughtered daily, on average. This was not the diet of slaves. This was a high-protein diet that surpassed what most ordinary Egyptians consumed. The workers ate beef, a luxury food in ancient Egypt. They ate mutton and goat. They ate fish from the Nile. They drank beer and ate bread baked fresh each day. The state was investing significant resources to keep them fed and healthy. There was even a livestock enclosure that researchers nicknamed the OK Corral, OK standing for Old Kingdom. It was large enough to hold 55 cattle at a time, ready for slaughter to feed the hungry workforce. And the bones tell us something else. The workers received medical care. Archaeologists found skeletons with healed fractures, broken arms and legs that had been set and splintered, that had mended properly. This was not the treatment given to disposable laborers. This was the care given to valued workers whom the state wanted to recover and return to work. Richard Redding, Chief Research Officer at Ancient Egypt Research Associates, put it simply: people were taken care of, and they were well fed when they were down there working, so there would have been an attractiveness to that. The workers were organized into crews. Large gangs of roughly 200 men were divided into smaller teams of about 20. Each crew had a name, often playful, often boastful. In the relieving chambers above the king's chamber, discovered in the 19th century, archaeologists found graffiti painted by these work gangs. One inscription reads, Khufu Smeruapia, the companions of Khufu. The workers were not permanent residents. Most were conscripts, recruited seasonally, serving rotations of 2 to 3 months before returning to their home villages. During the flood season, when the Nile covered the fields and farming was impossible, thousands of men became available for state projects. It was not slavery. It was corvée labor, a work tax owed to the state, similar to systems found in many ancient societies. And for the workers, it may have been more than duty. It was an opportunity to work on the greatest project of their age, an opportunity to serve their God-King directly, an opportunity to participate in something eternal. The workers who built the pyramids were buried near their creation. Their tombs are modest, small mastabas of mud brick, nothing like the royal monuments, but they are tombs nonetheless. The Egyptians did not bury slaves with such care. They buried those who deserved honor in the afterlife. These workers spent their lives building a house for the pharaoh's eternity, and in return, they were granted a small share of that eternity themselves, buried in the shadow of the great monument, close to their king forever. In 2013, archaeologists made a discovery that Egyptologist Zahi Hawass called the greatest discovery in Egypt in the 21st century. At Wadi al-Jarf, a Red Sea harbor site roughly 160 kilometers east of Giza, a French-Egyptian team discovered a collection of papyrus fragments in storage galleries carved into the rock. These papyri had been sealed in the galleries for 4,500 years. They were the oldest papyrus documents ever found in Egypt. And among them was a logbook kept by an inspector named Mira. Mira was a middle official, not a great man by Egyptian standards. He led a crew of about 200 men, with roughly 40 boatmen working directly under him. His job was to transport limestone blocks from the Tura quarries to the pyramid construction site. His diary records the day-by-day activities of his team in the 27th year of Khufu's reign, near the end of the pharaoh's life, as the pyramid neared completion. It is written in hieratic script, the everyday handwriting of ancient Egypt, on sheets of papyrus that have survived against all odds. Let me read you a typical entry. Day 26. Inspector Mirror casts off with his file from Tura South, loaded with stone for Akit Khufu. Spends the night at Khufu. Day 27. Sets sail from Khufu. Sails towards Akit Khufu, loaded with stone. Spends the night at Akit Khufu. Simple entries. Practical. Bureaucratic. And yet they bring the construction to life in a way that no monument can. Mirror's world was one of water and stone. Every 10 days, his crew completed 2 or 3 round trips from the Tura quarries to Giza. Each journey took about 4 days. Each boat carried roughly 30 blocks weighing 2 to 3 tons each. The work was recorded from July to November, the season of the annual flood, when the Nile rose and spread across the valley, when water transport became easier, when boats could sail closer to the construction site. The diary mentions Akit Khufu, the ancient name of the pyramid, meaning the horizon of Khufu. It mentions Khufu, likely a way station or harbor along the route. It mentions Khufu, the entrance to the lake of Khufu, probably a port near the construction site. Recent research has confirmed what the diary implies. In 2024, scientists mapped an extinct branch of the Nile called the Aramat Branch, a waterway that once flowed much closer to the Giza Plateau than the modern river. This ancient channel would have allowed boats to deliver materials directly to a harbor near the construction site. Mirror and his crew would have sailed up this vanished river, their boats heavy with limestone from Tura, delivering the gleaming white casing stones that would cover the pyramid's surface. The diary also mentions a name that helps us understand how the construction was organized. It mentions Ankef. Ankef was Khufu's half-brother and vizier, the highest official in the land after the pharaoh himself. According to Mirror's diary, Ankef was overseeing the harbor at Giza, coordinating the massive logistics of the construction project. This tells us that pyramid construction was a state enterprise at the highest level. It was not left to minor officials. The pharaoh's own family was directly involved in ensuring that the monument rose properly. The diary is not romantic. It does not describe wonders or express awe. It is a work log, nothing more, the ancient equivalent of a timesheet. But in its very ordinariness lies its power. Mirror was not writing for posterity. He was not trying to impress future generations. He was simply doing his job, recording his work, keeping track of deliveries. He had no idea that his notes would survive for 45 centuries, that archaeologists would pore over every word, that his name would become famous millennia after his death. His diary reminds us that the pyramid was not built by magic or mystery. It was built by people, by ordinary men doing extraordinary work, day after day, year after year, until the impossible was achieved. Let us consider the numbers. The Great Pyramid contains approximately 2.3 million blocks of stone. Together, they weigh an estimated 5.75 million tons. The pyramid originally rose to a height of 146.6 meters, nearly 481 feet, making it the tallest structure on Earth for more than 3,800 years. Each side of the base measures approximately 230 meters, about 756 feet. The base covers 13 acres, enough space for 10 football fields. The difference between the longest and shortest sides is less than 5 centimeters, precision that seems impossible for a structure built 4.5 millennia ago without modern surveying equipment. The pyramid is aligned to true north with extraordinary accuracy. The deviation is so small that for centuries scholars could not agree whether it was a slight error or a deliberate choice. These are not just numbers. They are a testament to human capability at the dawn of civilization. The stone came from several sources. Most of the pyramid's core blocks, the bulk of those 2.3 million stones, were quarried on site. From the Giza Plateau itself, just south of the pyramid, you can still see the quarry from which the ancient workers extracted their limestone. It is a particular type of stone called nummulitic limestone, formed from the fossilized shells of prehistoric sea creatures. The workers would mark out the blocks they wanted, then cut channels around them using copper chisels and wooden wedges. They would pound the channels deeper with dolerite balls, fist-sized stones harder than the limestone they were cutting. When the channels were deep enough, they would hammer wooden wedges into the rock and soak them with water. As the wood swelled, the stone would crack along the desired lines. Then the blocks would be pried free, levered onto wooden sledges, and dragged to the construction site. Experiments have shown that teams of 20 men could haul a 2.5-ton block from quarry to pyramid in about 20 minutes, provided the path was prepared with wet sand or mud to reduce friction. But the core blocks were only part of the story. The gleaming white casing stones, the smooth outer layer that once covered the pyramid's surface, came from a different place entirely. Across the Nile, about 10 to 12 kilometers southeast of Giza, lay the Tura quarries. The limestone there was finer, whiter, more beautiful than the local stone. It could be polished until it shone. This was the stone that would make the pyramid glow like a second sun. Scholars estimate that 67,390 cubic meters of fine Tura limestone was quarried for the Great Pyramid alone. It was cut and shaped at the quarry, then loaded onto boats and transported across the river and up the ancient branch of the Nile to Giza. This is what Mira and his crew did day after day, month after month, sailing with the current downriver to Tura, loading their boats with gleaming white stone, sailing upriver to Giza, fighting the current, their boats riding low in the water with the weight, and loading at the harbor, returning to do it all again. And there was a third source of stone, even more remarkable. The king's chamber, the heart of the pyramid, the room where the pharaoh's sarcophagus rests, is made entirely of granite. Not limestone. Granite. Granite is much harder than limestone. It cannot be cut with copper tools. It must be worked with pounding stones, dolerite balls that slowly, painfully, wear away the surface through percussion. The granite for the king's chamber came from Aswan, more than 900 kilometers south of Giza, near Egypt's southern border. Massive blocks, some weighing up to 80 tons, were quarried at Aswan, transported down the Nile by boat, and then somehow raised to the heart of the pyramid. How do you move an 80-ton block of granite 900 kilometers? How do you lift it 47 meters into the air? We do not know for certain. The ancient Egyptians did it. The proof is there, in the king's chamber, massive and silent and undeniable. The question that haunts every visitor to Giza is simple. How did they do it? How did they lift 2.5-ton blocks, and blocks weighing much more, to heights exceeding 140 meters? How did they achieve precision that we would struggle to match today? How did they complete the project in roughly 20 years? To finish the pyramid in this time frame, approximately one 2.5-ton block had to be put in place every 2 to 3 minutes during working hours. Every 2 to 3 minutes. For 20 years. The honest answer is, we do not know exactly how they did it. The Egyptians left no instruction manual. But we have theories, each with its strengths and weaknesses. The most widely accepted theory involves ramps. Ramps have been found at pyramid construction sites. Archaeological evidence shows that the ancient Egyptians understood the principle. If you cannot lift a stone, drag it up a slope. But what kind of ramp could have served the Great Pyramid? A straight ramp, rising at a 10% gradient from ground level to the top of the pyramid, would need to be approximately 1.5 kilometers long. It would require more material than the pyramid itself, and the Giza Plateau does not have room for a straight ramp of this length. Other researchers have proposed spiral ramps, paths that wrapped around the pyramid's exterior as it rose, allowing workers to drag blocks up an ever-lengthening circuit. This would solve the space problem, but it would have made precise positioning of the cornerstones extremely difficult. Some scholars have suggested that multiple ramps were used, perhaps a long, low ramp for the lower levels, and a different system for the upper reaches where space became limited. The truth is probably complex. Different methods may have been used at different stages of construction. The ancient Egyptians were practical people. They would have adapted their techniques as circumstances demanded. In 2025, a researcher named Simon Andreas Schering proposed a new theory that attracted significant attention. Schering suggested that the pyramid was built from the inside out, using the internal passages themselves as part of the construction machinery. According to this theory, the inclined passages within the pyramid, the descending passage, the ascending passage, the grand gallery, were not merely corridors. They were sliding ramps for counterweights. Imagine a wooden sledge loaded with heavy granite blocks. As the sledge slides down the inclined passage, its weight could be used to lift lighter blocks on the other end of a rope and pulley system. The slope of the passages, about 1/2, would generate about half the gravitational force of the counterweight blocks while providing twice the sliding ramp length of the height the blocks needed to be lifted. It is an elegant theory. It explains why the passages exist at such precise angles. It accounts for wear patterns on the passage walls. It suggests that the pyramid was not just a tomb but a construction machine. But it remains controversial. Many Egyptologists are not convinced. The debate continues. Other theories invoke simpler technologies. The shaduf, a lever with a counterweight on one end and a bucket on the other, has been used in Egypt for millennia to lift water for irrigation. Could a similar principle have been used to lift stones? Levers are simple, reliable, and powerful. A team of workers using long wooden levers could raise a stone block step by step, inserting wedges beneath it, tilting it up one side, and then the other, like walking a refrigerator across a room. Water may have played a role. Experiments have shown that wetting sand significantly reduces the friction of dragging heavy objects. The pyramid builders may have poured water on their ramps, turning the sand into a slippery surface. And there is always the possibility that the Egyptians used techniques we have not imagined. They had 4,500 years to become lost. We have had only a few centuries to try to rediscover them. Perhaps the most honest thing we can say is this. We do not know exactly how they did it, but we know that they did it. The pyramid stands. The blocks were raised. The impossible was achieved. And perhaps that is the real lesson. Perhaps the ancient Egyptians are reminding us, across the millennia, that human beings are capable of more than we imagine. Let us spend a day at the construction site. It is dawn. The eastern sky brightens, the stars fade, and the workday begins. Across the plateau, thousands of men are stirring, rising from their barracks in the workers' village, stretching muscles sore from yesterday's labor, preparing for another day of building eternity. The smell of baking bread drifts across the settlement. The immersive bakeries have been working through the night, turning out thousands of loaves to feed the workforce. Nearby, the breweries are producing beer, thick, nutritious, slightly sour, the staple beverage that provides calories and hydration in the desert heat. Imagine you are one of these workers. You are a farmer from a village somewhere along the Nile, perhaps near Thebes, perhaps near Memphis, perhaps from the Delta marshes in the north. For 3 months, you will work here, serving your duty to the Pharaoh, before returning home to your family, your fields, your ordinary life. You eat breakfast quickly, bread, still warm from the ovens, washed down with beer. Around you, your crew members are doing the same, men you have come to know well over the past weeks, men who haul stones beside you, who sleep in the same gallery, who share the same food and the same exhaustion. Your foreman calls the crew together. He is a permanent worker, one who lives at Giza year-round, who knows every aspect of the construction. He assigns today's task. You will be part of a team dragging casing stones from the harbor to the pyramid's base. The day's work begins. The harbor is about half a kilometer from the pyramid. A canal connects it to the main branch of the Nile, allowing boats laden with stone to sail directly to the construction site. The boats from Tura have been arriving all night, their white limestone cargo gleaming in the morning light. Teams of men are already unloading the boats, rolling the stones onto wooden sledges, securing them with ropes. Each stone weighs about 2.5 tons. Each sledge requires a team of 20 men to move it. You take your place on the rope. The foreman counts down. And then you pull. The sledge groans and begins to move. The path from the harbor to the pyramid is prepared each morning. Workers spread wet mud across the roadway, creating a slick surface that reduces friction. Other workers pour water ahead of the sledges, keeping the path wet as the sun beats down. You pull in rhythm with your crew, chanting work songs that help coordinate the effort. The songs are ancient, passed down from crew to crew. Some are prayers to the gods. Some are boasts about your team's strength. Some are simply nonsense syllables that help keep the rhythm. Pull. Step. Pull. Step. The sledge slides forward, inch by inch, yard by yard. The sun climbs higher. The heat increases. Sweat runs down your back, soaks into your simple linen kilt. A water carrier walks alongside the crews, offering drinks from a clay jug. You gulp the water gratefully, then return to the rope. By midday, you have made 3 trips from harbor to pyramid. The overseer notes each delivery on a tablet, recording your crew's output, tracking the progress of the construction. Everything is counted. Everything is recorded. The pyramid is built on organization as much as stone. The hottest hours bring a break. You find shade near a temporary shelter, eat bread and onions, drink more beer. Some workers nap. Others talk quietly, sharing stories of home, of families, of the lives they have left behind. An older worker, a man who has served on pyramid projects for 20 years, tells a story you have heard before but never tire of hearing. He speaks of the pyramid of Snefo, of the day a massive block slipped and nearly killed 3 men, of the prayers they offered and the extra rations they received. He speaks of the Pharaoh as a living god, distant but benevolent, watching over his workers from his palace in Memphis. You close your eyes. The shade is cool. The beer sits warmly in your stomach. You drift into a brief, dreamless sleep. The afternoon shift resumes as the worst of the heat passes. Now your crew is assigned to a different task, helping position a casing stone on the pyramid's lower courses. This is precision work. The masons who will do the final fitting are masters of their craft, but they need strong backs to move the stones into approximate position first. Ramps of debris and packed earth lead up the pyramid's sides. You help push a stone up the ramp, wooden rollers beneath the sledge easing the climb. The foreman shouts commands, adjusting the angle, directing the teams. At the top of the ramp, the masons take over. They use copper levers and wooden wedges, sliding the stone into place, checking the fit, making minute adjustments. The gaps between stones will be so small that you cannot insert a knife blade. This is the standard. This is what the Pharaoh requires. You watch the masons work, admiring their skill. They have spent years learning their craft, apprenticed to older masters, gradually taking on more responsibility. They are the elite of the workforce, and they know it. As the sun descends toward the western horizon, the workday ends. You are exhausted. Your muscles ache. Your hands are rough from the ropes, your shoulders sore from the pulling. But you are also strangely satisfied. You have moved stone. You have built something that will last forever. You are part of something greater than yourself. Back at the workers' village, the evening meal is being prepared. Tonight there will be meat, beef, roasted over open fires, a luxury that most Egyptians rarely taste. The state feeds its workers well. It knows that hungry men cannot build pyramids. You eat with your crew, sitting in the long gallery where you sleep. The conversation is tired but companionable. Someone tells a joke. Someone else complains about a blister. The foreman praises the day's work, promises tomorrow will be easier, a lie, but a kindly meant one. Night falls. The stars emerge. You lie on your sleeping mat, listening to the sounds of the camp settling into rest. Snoring, murmured conversations, the distant cry of a jackal in the desert. Tomorrow, you will do it all again. And the next day. And the next. For 3 months, until your rotation ends and you return home, carrying stories that will make you famous in your village, carrying the knowledge that you helped build a wonder of the world. When the Great Pyramid was completed, it looked nothing like it does today. Today, we see a stepped structure, a mountain of weathered limestone blocks, tan and brown and grey, each course visible, each layer distinct. Tourists climb the blocks like stairs. The surface is rough and ancient. But when the pyramid was new, it was smooth. It was white. It shone. The fine limestone from the Tura quarries covered the entire surface, layer after layer of polished stone, fitted so precisely that you could barely see the joints. The ancient Greek writers called these casing stones so perfect that a knife blade could not be inserted between them. In the Egyptian sun, this white limestone would have blazed with light. The pyramid would have been visible for miles, a brilliant white triangle against the blue sky and golden sand, like a crystalline mountain that had erupted from the desert floor. Imagine approaching it for the first time. You have walked for hours through the flat brown plain, the sun beating down, the air shimmering with heat. And then, on the horizon, you see it. Not a structure, not a building, a mountain of light, so bright you must shield your eyes. A beacon that seems to glow from within. The ancient Egyptians called it Akhet Khufu, the horizon of Khufu, the place where the Pharaoh would rise like the sun, Looking at that blazing white surface, you would have understood the name. It was a sunrise captured in stone. At the very top of the pyramid sat the pyramidion, the capstone. We do not know for certain what the Great Pyramid's pyramidion looked like. It has been missing since at least classical antiquity. When ancient Greek and Roman visitors came to Giza, they reported a flat platform at the summit, not a pointed peak. Many pyramids had capstones made of limestone, sandstone, basalt, or granite. Some may have been covered with plates of gold, electrum, or copper, metals that would catch the first and last rays of sunlight, blazing like fire against the dawn or dusk sky. However, all known capstones from 4th Dynasty pyramids, Khufu's era, are of white limestone, not gilded. The idea of a golden capstone may be more legend than fact, or may reflect later practices applied retroactively. What happened to the Great Pyramid's capstone? We do not know. Perhaps it was stolen for its precious metal covering, if it had one. Perhaps it was toppled by an earthquake. Perhaps it was removed when the casing stones were stripped. Today, the pyramid is about 8 meters shorter than its original height, with roughly 1,000 tons of material missing from the top. The mystery of the missing capstone adds to the pyramid's enigma. The final piece of Khufu's monument, the point that touched the sky, is gone forever. And the rest of the casing is mostly gone as well. The stripping of the casing stones began as early as the reign of Tutankhamun, around 1336 to 1327 before the Common Era, more than 1,000 years after the pyramid was built. It continued intermittently for millennia. In 1303 of the Common Era, a major earthquake struck Egypt. It loosened many of the remaining casing stones, making them easier to remove. Over the following decades, the fine limestone was carried away to build mosques and fortresses in Cairo. Today, if you look carefully at the base of the Great Pyramid, you can still see some of the original casing stones, massive blocks, finely finished, giving a hint of what once covered the entire surface. And if you look at the peak of the nearby Pyramid of Khafra, you can see a patch of casing still in place, the last visible remnant of the gleaming white that once covered all 3 Great Pyramids. The stones were recycled. They were not destroyed. Somewhere in the mosques and palaces of old Cairo, the casing stones of the Great Pyramid still exist, reborn as new buildings, serving new purposes. But the White Mountain is gone. We can only imagine what it looked like when it was new. Let us walk together into the Great Pyramid. The original entrance is on the north face, about 17 meters above the base, a small opening in the vast expanse of stone. Today, most visitors do not enter this way. They enter through the Robbers' Tunnel, a passage cut straight through the masonry by treasure seekers centuries ago. But let us take the ancient path. Let us enter as the priests would have entered when they laid Khufu's body to rest. You stand at the entrance, looking down into darkness. The passage slopes steeply downward, about 26 degrees, almost as steep as a playground slide. It is narrow, just over a meter in both height and width. You must crouch as you move forward, your hands touching the cool limestone walls. This is the descending passage. The walls are astonishingly smooth. Each block is precisely cut, precisely placed. The joints between stones are almost invisible, so tight that even after 4.5 millennia, you can barely feel where one stone ends and another begins. There is no light here except what you bring with you. In ancient times, the priests would have carried torches or oil lamps, their flames flickering against the polished stone, casting dancing shadows. The passage would have seemed to swallow the light, the darkness ahead always darker than the flames could reach. You descend. The temperature drops. The air grows thick and still. The sounds of the outside world fade away until there is only the sound of your own breathing, your own footsteps, echoing softly off the ancient walls. The descending passage plunges deep into the bedrock beneath the pyramid, finally reaching a point about 27 meters below the base, nearly 90 feet underground. Here, at the bottom, lies the subterranean chamber. This is also called the pit. It is a strange, unfinished room, roughly 8 meters by 14 meters, with a ceiling about 4 meters high. The western half of the room is rough and irregular, with trenches running east to west, the marks of quarrymen who never completed their work. Why is it unfinished? One theory suggests that this was originally planned as Khufu's burial chamber, But the builders changed their minds during construction, deciding to place the burial higher within the pyramid itself. Perhaps Khufu wanted to be closer to the sky, closer to the stars he would join. Another theory holds that this chamber was never meant to be finished. It may have served a symbolic purpose, a representation of the underworld, the realm of Geb, the earth god, through which the pharaoh's soul would pass on its journey to eternity. Whatever its purpose, the chamber is empty now. Empty and silent and dark, a room at the bottom of a mountain of stone, untouched by sunlight for 45 centuries. But you did not come all this way to stay underground. Back in the descending passage, about 28 meters from the entrance, there is a junction. Here, the passage continues downward to the subterranean chamber. But here also, a new passage branches upward. This is the ascending passage. For thousands of years, this passage was hidden. The ancient builders sealed it with 3 massive granite plug blocks, each weighing several tons. These blocks were slid down from above, sealing the upper chambers against intruders. The plug blocks fooled tomb robbers for a long time, but eventually, perhaps during the chaos following the end of the Old Kingdom, someone found a way around them. They carved a tunnel through the softer limestone beside the granite, bypassing the impenetrable plugs. The granite blocks still sit there today, exactly where the ancient builders left them. The ascending passage climbs at the same angle as the descending passage, about 26 degrees. It is narrow and steep, barely 1.5 meters high and wide. Modern visitors must bend or crouch as they move forward. The passage is built from a unique type of construction. Instead of individual blocks, the builders used massive girdle stones, enormous single blocks that form the walls, floor, and ceiling simultaneously. These stones, some spanning the entire width of the passage, were carved and hollowed out to create the corridor. It is as if the builders wanted this passage to be indestructible. They were protecting something precious. You climb. The muscles in your legs begin to burn. The passage seems endless, a narrow tunnel rising through the heart of the mountain. The air is thick. Your breath comes harder. And then, ahead of you, the passage opens. You emerge into the grand gallery. The transformation is stunning. You have been crouching through narrow passages, hemmed in by stone, unable to stand upright. And suddenly you are in a cathedral. The grand gallery is 46 meters long and nearly 9 meters tall. It continues at the same 26-degree angle as the passages below, but it soars upward like nothing else in the ancient world. Take a moment. Look up. The walls rise in 7 courses of polished limestone, each course projecting inwards slightly more than the one below. This is called a corbelled vault, an ancient technique for spanning a wide space without using an arch. The walls seem to climb in giant steps toward a narrow ceiling high above. The limestone is smooth and cool. It catches the light from your lamp and reflects it softly, glowing in the darkness. Each block is perfectly placed, perfectly finished. The precision is extraordinary. The floor of the gallery is divided into a lower central corridor, flanked by raised platforms on either side. Mysterious slots cut into the walls may once have held wooden beams or other structures. Their purpose remains debated. You climb the gallery slowly, one step at a time. The angle is steep. Your legs work hard, but the space around you makes the effort feel different, not the claustrophobic struggle of the lower passages, but something almost ceremonial. You feel as if you are ascending towards something sacred. At the top of the grand gallery, you reach a great step, a flat platform like a small stage. Beyond it, the passage narrows again, becoming an antechamber with grooves cut into the walls. These grooves once held portcullis stones, massive slabs of granite that could be lowered to seal the passage. The ancient builders installed multiple layers of protection, trying to keep the pharaoh's body safe from thieves. It did not work. The thieves found a way in anyway, but the portcullis mechanisms remain, silent witnesses to ancient engineering and ancient crime. Beyond the antechamber lies your destination. The King's Chamber. The King's Chamber is the heart of the Great Pyramid. It sits approximately 47 meters above the base, about 154 feet in the air, buried within millions of tons of stone. The chamber itself is modest in size, roughly 10.5 meters by 5 meters, with a ceiling 5.5 meters high. But what strikes you first is not the size. It is the material. The entire chamber, walls, floor, and ceiling is made of pink granite from Aswan. After the cream-colored limestone of the passages and gallery, the change is dramatic. The granite is darker, heavier, more substantial. It seems to absorb sound differently, creating a profound silence. There are 9 massive granite beams spanning the ceiling, each one weighing between 25 and 80 tons. These are not decorative. They are structural, designed to bear the enormous weight of the pyramid above, and they have borne it well. In 4,500 years, only one small crack has developed in the ceiling slabs near the south wall. One crack in 45 centuries. Under millions of tons of pressure. The ancient engineers knew what they were doing. At the western end of the chamber sits the sarcophagus. It is made of red granite, a single block hollowed out to hold the pharaoh's body. It is large, so large that it could not have been carried through the finished passages. It must have been placed here during construction, before the walls closed around it. The sarcophagus is empty now. Tomb robbers broke away a corner of the lid in their search for treasure. They tore the king's body from its resting place, stripped it of its jewels, its amulets, its gold. Whatever riches Khufu carried into eternity was stolen millennia ago. Only the empty sarcophagus remains. Massive. Silent. Waiting for a king who will never return. Above the ceiling of the king's chamber are 5 stacked chambers, spaced about 60 to 70 meters above the ground. These are the relieving chambers, structural spaces designed to distribute the weight of the pyramid above and prevent the king's chamber ceiling from collapsing. The lowest is called Davison's Chamber, discovered in 1765 by Nathaniel Davison, a British diplomat who noticed an opening above the Grand Gallery. The 4 above were discovered in 1837 by Howard Vyse, who blasted his way upward through the masonry. He named them after important friends: Wellington's Chamber, Nelson's Chamber, Lady Arbuthnot's Chamber, and Campbell's Chamber. Each chamber is roofed and floored with granite, except for the topmost, which has a gabled limestone roof, a pointed peak that helps distribute the load. When Vyse entered these chambers, he found something remarkable: graffiti, painted on the rough granite blocks in positions that would have been invisible once the pyramid was complete, were the marks of ancient work gangs. Names, symbols, and in Campbell's chamber, a royal cartouche containing the name of Khufu himself. This is the smoking gun of pyramid attribution. The only direct, contemporary evidence linking the Great Pyramid to its builder. The companions of Khufu painted their names on these hidden stones 4,500 years ago, never imagining that their graffiti would become some of the most important text in Egyptology. Let us pause here in the king's chamber and truly experience this place. Close your eyes, take a deep breath of the ancient air, and let your senses become aware of where you are. Begin with touch. Press your hand against the granite wall. Feel its coolness, not cold, but cooler than you expected, cooler than the desert heat outside. The stone is smooth, polished by ancient hands, but you can feel the texture beneath the smoothness, the grain of the granite, the tiny crystals that make up its structure. The granite is hard, harder than any stone you have touched. This is the stone that traveled 900 kilometers from Aswan, quarried by workers who pounded it with dolerite balls, shaped by masons whose skill has never been surpassed. You are touching the work of 4,500 years. Now touch the floor. It too is granite, the same pink stone from Aswan. But the floor is rougher, worn by the feet of visitors over millennia. Greek tourists walked here. Roman soldiers walked here. Arab explorers and European archaeologists and countless pilgrims from every corner of the world have stood where you stand now. The stone holds the memory of all those footsteps. It holds the memory of the priests who performed the final rituals. It holds, perhaps, the memory of the Pharaoh himself, carried in procession to his eternal rest. Now consider sound. The king's chamber is one of the quietest places on earth. The massive walls of granite and limestone absorb sound with extraordinary efficiency. The silence here is not merely the absence of noise, it is a presence, a weight, a quality of the air itself. Clap your hands. The sound dies almost instantly, swallowed by the stone. Speak a word. It does not echo. It simply stops, as if the air itself were reluctant to carry it. This acoustic quality is so remarkable that scientists have studied it. Some believe the chamber was designed to resonate at specific frequencies, perhaps for ritual purposes. Others think it is simply a consequence of the massive construction. Either way, the effect is profound. In this silence, you can hear your own heartbeat. You can hear the blood moving through your veins. You can hear, if you listen closely enough, the subtle sounds of your own existence. Now consider the darkness. The king's chamber has no windows. No natural light has touched this space since the pyramid was sealed. For thousands of years, this room was in absolute darkness, darkness so complete that you could not see your hand in front of your face. Modern visitors bring electric lights, of course, but imagine, for a moment, that the lights go out. Imagine the darkness returning, the darkness that has been waiting all this time, the darkness that belongs here. In that darkness, your eyes would be useless. You would navigate by touch alone, feeling your way along the smooth granite walls. You would sense the vastness of the space around you, the massive weight of the stone above, but you would see nothing, nothing at all. The darkness in a pyramid is not the darkness of a room at night. It is not the darkness of a cave. It is the darkness of the earth itself, the darkness that existed before the sun was born, the darkness that will return when the sun dies. Now consider the temperature. Despite the scorching heat outside, where summer temperatures can exceed 40 degrees Celsius, the king's chamber maintains a constant temperature of about 20 degrees. The thick walls of limestone and granite insulate this space from the outside world, creating a microclimate that has remained stable for millennia. The air is cool on your skin. Not cold, nothing here is truly cold, but refreshingly cool, a relief from the heat you endured to reach this place. The ancient Egyptians understood thermodynamics, whether they knew the word or not. They built this chamber to be comfortable, even in the desert. And now consider the air itself. The air in the king's chamber is old. Very old. Some of it may have been here since the pyramid was sealed. It moves slowly, stirred only by visitors, settling back into stillness when they leave. The air carries no scent, or rather, it carries a scent so faint, so subtle, that you must concentrate to notice it. A hint of dust. A whisper of stone. Perhaps, if you imagine hard enough, the ghost of incense from ancient rituals, cedar oil from ceremonial torches, the perfume of long-dead priests. Breathe this air. Let it fill your lungs. You are breathing the same air that Pharaoh's breath. You are sharing molecules with 4,500 years of history. Finally, consider your body. You are standing in the heart of the largest pyramid ever built. Above you, millions of tons of stone press down, but the relieving chambers distribute the weight, and the ceiling holds. Below you, the bedrock of the Giza Plateau supports the entire structure, a foundation that has not shifted in 45 centuries. You are surrounded by stone, enclosed by stone, protected by stone. The world outside, with its noise, its heat, its ceaseless activity, cannot reach you here. You are in a space that was designed for eternity. Let your body relax into this understanding. Let your muscles release their tension. Let your breathing slow to match the stillness of the air. You are safe here. Safer than you have been in a long time. The pyramid that has stood for 4,500 years will stand for the next hour, the next day, the next century. Its stones do not crumble. Its structure does not fail. Rest in this safety. Rest in this stillness. Rest in this profound and ancient peace. There are other spaces in the pyramid, other mysteries. Back at the junction where the Grand Gallery meets the ascending passage, a horizontal corridor branches off to the south. This leads to the Queen's Chamber. Though the name is misleading, the Queen's Chamber was never intended for any queen. Arab explorers gave it that name centuries ago, assuming that any secondary chamber must be for a royal wife. But Khufu's queens were buried in the 3 small subsidiary pyramids east of the main structure, not within it. What, then, was the Queen's Chamber for? The chamber lies exactly halfway between the north and south faces of the pyramid. It measures about 5 meters by 6 meters, with a pointed roof reaching about 6 meters at its apex. The entire room is made of limestone, almost completely finished. At the eastern end of the chamber is a corbelled niche, a tall, narrow alcove about 4.5 meters high, stepped inward like a tiny version of the Grand Gallery. Its original depth was about 1 meter, but treasure hunters have since deepened it, hoping to find hidden passages beyond. What was the niche for? We do not know. Perhaps it held a statue of the king. Perhaps it served some ritual purpose. Perhaps it was part of a construction plan that was later changed. The chamber may have been an abandoned burial chamber, an earlier design that was superseded by the king's chamber above. Or it may have served a religious function, a place for specific rituals related to the pharaoh's resurrection. One thing is certain: it contains some of the pyramid's deepest mysteries. In 1872, a British engineer named Wayman Dixon discovered 2 small shafts emanating from the north and south walls of the Queen's chamber. These shafts are similar to the air shafts in the King's chamber, but with one crucial difference. The King's chamber shafts connect to the outer surface of the pyramid. They may have been designed to allow the pharaoh's spirit to exit the pyramid and rise to the heavens. The Queen's chamber shafts do not. They were found sealed at both ends, not connected to the chamber itself, not connected to the outside. They simply disappear into the masonry. In 2002, a robot with a camera drilled through a small stone door blocking one of the Queen's chamber shafts. Beyond it was another door. In 2011, a more sophisticated robot pushed a camera through a crack in this second door and found a small chamber decorated with what appeared to be red ochre symbols. What lies beyond? We still do not know. The shafts remain one of the pyramid's most tantalizing mysteries, and there are newer mysteries still. In 2017, an international team called Scan Pyramids announced a startling discovery. Using a technique called cosmic ray muon imaging, essentially using particles from outer space to see inside solid rock, they had detected a large void within the Great Pyramid. This void, which they called the Big Void, lies directly above the Grand Gallery. It is at least 30 meters long, with a cross-section similar to the Grand Gallery itself. What is it? It could be a construction gap, a space left by the builders for unknown reasons. It could be a second Grand Gallery, parallel to the first. It could be a hidden chamber with unknown purpose. No one has entered the Big Void. No one has seen what is inside, if anything. The technology that detected it cannot tell us what it contains. For now, it remains a mystery detected by cosmic rays from distant galaxies, hidden in the heart of a man-made mountain. In 2023, the same team confirmed another discovery: the North Face Corridor, a passage about 9 meters long, 2 meters wide, and 2 meters tall, located close to the pyramid's original entrance. Endoscopic cameras have captured images of a corridor with a vaulted ceiling, a space presumably unseen by human eyes since the pyramid was sealed more than 4,500 years ago. The pyramids continue to reveal their secrets, slowly, reluctantly, one glimpse at a time. Before we leave the Giza Plateau, let us visit the Sphinx. The Great Sphinx sits about 400 meters south of the Great Pyramid, at the eastern edge of the plateau. It is a limestone statue of a mythical creature, a recumbent lion with the head of a human king. It is enormous. The Sphinx measures 73 meters long and 20 meters high, larger than a basketball court, taller than a 6-story building. It is one of the oldest and largest monumental sculptures on Earth. Most archaeologists believe the Sphinx was built by Khafra, Khufu's son. It sits next to Khafra's causeway, the covered corridor that once connected his valley temple to his mortuary temple and pyramid. The face of the Sphinx may be a portrait of Khafra himself, but unlike the pyramids, which were built from blocks, the Sphinx was carved from the living rock. The ancient sculptors cut away the surrounding limestone, leaving behind a ridge that they shaped into the body of a lion and the head of a king. The Sphinx was not just art. It was theology. Egyptologist Mark Lenner describes Khafra's pyramid complex, the pyramid, the temples, the causeway, and the Sphinx, as a cosmic engine. It was designed to harness the power of the sun and other gods to resurrect the soul of the pharaoh. The Sphinx, representing the sun god in one of his forms, served as a guardian and a focal point for this sacred machinery. The Sphinx has suffered. Its nose is missing. The circumstances of its loss remain unknown. Examinations show evidence of deliberate damage with rods or chisels. Contrary to popular myth, Napoleon's troops did not shoot off the nose. Sketches made before Napoleon's arrival clearly show the nose already gone. Medieval chronicles mention a local zealot defacing the Sphinx. In Egyptian tradition, damaging the nose and mouth of a statue symbolically deactivated it by taking away its breath, its life force. Someone long ago wanted to destroy the power of this ancient guardian. For most of its history, the Sphinx has been buried in sand. The desert wanted to reclaim it. Time and again, the sands covered the body, leaving only the head visible above the dunes. Around 1400 before the Common Era, a young prince named Thutmose rested in the shadow of the Sphinx's head, the only part visible above the sand. He fell asleep and had a dream. The Sphinx spoke to him, promising that if Thutmose would clear away the sand, he would become Pharaoh. Thutmose did become Pharaoh, Thutmose IV. One of his first acts was to clear the sand from around the Sphinx. He erected a granite stela between the Sphinx's paws to commemorate the event. The dream stela still stands there today, recording the legend of a promise made in a dream. The Sphinx has been cleared of sand many times since, and each time, the desert has slowly returned, as if trying to swallow this strange lion with a human face. The Great Pyramid did not stand alone. It was the centerpiece of a carefully planned funerary complex, a sacred landscape designed to serve the pharaoh's needs in both this world and the next. Every pyramid complex of the Old Kingdom followed a standard pattern. There was the pyramid itself, the burial monument, the house of eternity. There was a mortuary temple on the pyramid's east side, where priests would perform daily rituals to sustain the pharaoh's soul. There was a long, covered causeway leading down from the mortuary temple to a valley temple near the Nile, and there was the valley temple itself, where the pharaoh's body would first arrive by boat after his death. Khufu's complex followed this pattern, though time has not been kind to it. The mortuary temple once stood against the eastern face of the pyramid. It was built of fine limestone, and would have been a substantial structure, a place where offerings were made, where the pharaoh's cult was maintained, where priests performed the rituals that would keep Khufu alive in the afterlife. Little remains today. The black basalt pavement that formed its floor is still visible, and fragments of its walls have been found in the rubble. But the temple itself was dismantled over the centuries, its stones carried away for other buildings. The causeway was once a covered corridor, perhaps decorated with relief carvings depicting the pharaoh's achievements. It ran from the mortuary temple down toward the Nile, a processional route that would have been used when the pharaoh's body was brought to its final resting place. Traces of the causeway remain. Herodotus described it as a remarkable structure in its own right, decorated with carvings of animals and plants. But like the temple, it has largely vanished. The Valley Temple is the most completely lost. It now lies buried beneath the modern village of Nazlat el Salman, somewhere near the edge of the ancient floodplain. We know it existed. We know approximately where it was, but no archaeologist has been able to excavate it. Beneath the streets and houses of a living village, the gateway through which Khufu passed to his eternity still waits, undiscovered. There were also 3 subsidiary pyramids on the east side of the Great Pyramid, smaller structures that served as tombs for Khufu's queens. The northernmost is traditionally attributed to Hetepheres, Khufu's mother. An empty tomb shaft near this pyramid was discovered in 1925, containing a cache of furniture and other objects that had belonged to Hetepheres, including her empty sarcophagus. Where her body was actually buried remains unknown. The other 2 queens' pyramids belonged to wives or daughters of Khufu. They are much smaller than the Great Pyramid, roughly 1/5 its height, but they follow the same basic design. Each had its own small mortuary temple. Each was intended to provide eternal rest for its royal occupant. Around the pyramids stretched a vast cemetery of mastabas, the flat-topped tombs of nobles, officials, and priests. These tombs were arranged in orderly rows, like a city of the dead, surrounding the pharaoh's monument as courtiers would surround a king in his palace. The nobles wanted to be buried near their king. They believed that proximity to the pharaoh would benefit them in the afterlife, and so the plateau became a necropolis, a city of tombs, a vast burial ground that held the elite of Old Kingdom Egypt. But perhaps the most remarkable discovery near the pyramid was found not in a tomb, but in a pit. In 1954, archaeologist Kamal El-Malik noticed a row of limestone blocks near the base of the pyramid's south face. When he lifted one of these blocks, he smelled cedar wood, the scent of a tree that had last grown more than 4,000 years ago. Beneath the blocks was a sealed pit, and within the pit lay a boat, a complete, perfectly preserved boat. The boat had been dismantled into over 1,000 pieces and carefully stacked in the pit, awaiting reassembly in the afterlife. It was made of Lebanese cedar, imported from the mountains of what is now Lebanon. It measured 43.6 meters long, nearly 143 feet. It took more than a decade to reassemble the boat. Today, it is displayed in a museum beside the pyramid, a magnificent vessel that may have carried Khufu's body across the Nile for burial, or may have been intended to carry his soul across the heavens. A second boat was found in a neighboring pit in 1987. It remains in its pit, sealed and protected, awaiting future archaeologists with better preservation techniques. The boats remind us that the pyramid was not an isolated monument. It was part of a complex, a system, a sacred landscape designed to serve the pharaoh's journey to eternity. The stone of the tomb, the wood of the boats, the rituals of the temples, all worked together to ensure that Khufu would live forever among the stars. Before we move on, let us consider the three great pyramids of Giza together. Standing on the plateau, you can see all three. They form a line running from northeast to southwest. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, the Pyramid of Khafra, and the smaller Pyramid of Menkaure. Three pyramids, three pharaohs, three generations of one family, each building their monument to eternity on this elevated platform of rock. Khafra, Khufu's son, built the second pyramid around 2520 before the Common Era. It is slightly smaller than his father's, originally 143.5 meters tall, compared to the Great Pyramid's 146.6. But Pharaoh was clever. He built his pyramid on higher ground. Standing at the base, Khafra's pyramid actually appears taller than the Great Pyramid. It was a subtle victory, a way for the son to seem to surpass the father without actually doing so. Khafra's pyramid retains some of its original casing stones at the apex, a cap of smooth white limestone that gives us a hint of how all the pyramids once appeared. When you look at that gleaming white peak, you can begin to imagine the entire surface covered in the same material, the whole mountain shining like a beacon. It was Khafra who built the Great Sphinx, that lion with a human face that guards the approach to the plateau. His valley temple, made of massive limestone blocks encased in granite, is one of the best preserved Old Kingdom temples. His causeway, stretching nearly 500 meters, connected the living world to the realm of the dead. Menkaure, Khafra's son and Khufu's grandson, built the third pyramid around 2510 before the Common Era. It is significantly smaller than the others, originally only 65.5 meters tall, less than half the height of the Great Pyramid. Why so much smaller? We do not know. Perhaps Menkaure reigned for a shorter time and could not complete a larger project. Perhaps resources were becoming scarce after two massive construction projects. Perhaps architectural fashion was changing, moving away from the colossal monuments of the early 4th dynasty. Menkaure's pyramid has its own distinction. Its lower courses were originally cased in granite, not limestone. The deep red granite from Aswan would have contrasted beautifully with the white limestone above, a pyramid of two colors rising from the desert floor. Menkaure died before his complex was complete. His successor, Shepseskaf, finished the work using mud brick instead of stone, a significant downgrade that may reflect declining resources or changing priorities. The three pyramids together formed a sacred landscape unlike anything else in the ancient world. Seen from the air, they march in a diagonal line across the plateau. Seen from the ground, they dominate the horizon in every direction. Seen in the light of dawn or dusk, they glow with colors that shift through the entire spectrum of the desert sky. The ancient Egyptians believed that the pharaohs buried here had become gods, joining the imperishable stars, sailing in celestial boats across the night sky. The pyramids were their launching pads, their gateways, their eternal homes, and in a sense, the belief was justified. Khufu, Khafra, and Menkaure are still here. Their bodies may be lost, their tombs robbed, their names faded from common memory, but their monuments endure. Their pyramids still rise against the desert sky. In that sense, at least, they have achieved eternity. The Great Pyramid has fascinated visitors for as long as there have been visitors. The Greek historian Herodotus came to Giza around 500 years before the Common Era. more than 2,000 years after the pyramid was built. He recorded what the local guides told him, including the claim that the pyramid had taken 100,000 men 20 years to build, that each 3-month shift was served by a fresh group of workers, that the stones had been raised using machines made of short wooden planks. How much of what Herodotus recorded was accurate, and how much was already legend, we cannot know, but his account would shape how the Western world thought about the pyramids for centuries. In 820 of the Common Era, so the story goes, the Abbasid Caliph al-Ma'mun came to Egypt and ordered his workers to break into the Great Pyramid. Unable to find the original entrance, they cut straight through the masonry, creating the passage now known as the Robbers' Tunnel. Whether al-Ma'mun truly ordered this excavation, or whether it was the work of earlier tomb robbers, is debated. But the tunnel bears his name, and through it, generations of explorers would enter the pyramid. In 1798, Napoleon Bonaparte brought an army of scholars, to Egypt. According to legend, Napoleon spent a night alone in the king's chamber. When he emerged, he appeared pale and shaken. Asked what had happened, he reportedly said, "No, you would not believe me if I told you." On his deathbed, Napoleon began to mention the experience but then stopped himself. "No, never mind," he said. "What's the use? Whether this story is true or apocryphal, it captures the enduring mystery of the pyramid, the sense that its ancient stones might hold secrets beyond our understanding." In the 19th century, the pyramid became the subject of serious scientific study. Giovanni Belzoni, an Italian circus strongman turned explorer, was one of the first Europeans to venture deep into Egyptian monuments. Howard Vyse, a British Army officer, blasted his way into the relieving chambers above the King's Chamber in 1837, finding the ancient graffiti that confirmed Khufu as the builder. But the most important of the 19th century explorers was William Matthew Flinders Petrie. Petrie was appalled by the casual destruction he witnessed at Egyptian sites. He described Egypt as a house on fire, so rapid was the destruction, and felt his duty to be that of a salvage manual. He came to Giza in 1880 with nothing but surveying equipment and a tent, determined to measure the pyramid with unprecedented accuracy. For 2 years, Petrie lived and worked at Giza, measuring every dimension of the pyramid with precision that had never been attempted. His book, The Pyramids and Temples of Giza, published in 1883, remains an essential reference to this day. Petrie's measurements revealed just how precisely the ancient builders had worked. The base was almost a perfect square. The alignment to true north was almost perfect. The angle of the sides was consistent to within fractions of a degree. Petrie would go on to mentor a generation of Egyptologists, including Howard Carter, who would later discover the tomb of Tutankhamun. But his careful work at Giza set the standard for all future archaeology. Despite centuries of study, the Great Pyramid keeps its secrets. We have mentioned the hidden voids detected by cosmic rays, the sealed shafts in the Queen's chamber, the missing capstone, the lost casing stones, but there are deeper questions that remain unanswered. Why does the pyramid incorporate such precise mathematics? The ratio of the base perimeter to the height approximates 2 times pi. The base is aligned to true north with an accuracy of about 4 minutes of arc, better than some modern surveying. The dimensions seem to encode mathematical relationships that would not be formally understood for millennia. Were these relationships intentional? Did the ancient Egyptians understand concepts that we attribute to Greek mathematicians who lived 2,000 years later? Or are these relationships coincidental, the natural result of building with consistent proportions and careful measurement? We do not know. Why were the passages built at such precise angles? The descending passage points to the celestial North Pole, or rather, to where the North Pole star was in Khufu's time. The shafts in the King's and Queen's chambers may have been aligned with significant stars. The shaft from the King's chamber pointing toward Orion's belt, associated with Osiris, god of the dead. Another pointing toward Sirius, associated with Isis, Osiris's sister and wife. Were the pyramids astronomical observatories? Launching pads for the Pharaoh's soul? Sacred instruments for connecting earth and sky? Or are we reading patterns that were never intended, finding meaning in coincidence? In 1989, A researcher named Robert Bauval proposed that the three Giza pyramids were deliberately arranged to mirror the three stars of Orion's belt. This Orion correlation theory attracted widespread attention. The theory is appealing. The three pyramids do resemble the three belt stars. The ancient Egyptians did associate Orion with Osiris. The Milky Way does roughly correspond to the course of the Nile. But critics have pointed out problems. The alignment requires flipping one pattern relative to the other. Quantitative analysis suggests the correlation is completely unsuccessful beyond the basic resemblance. The zodiac constellations as we know them were unknown in Egypt until the Greco-Roman era. The truth is, we cannot know for certain what the ancient builders intended. They left no explanation. They did not write down their reasons. The pyramid stands, massive and silent, and does not answer our questions. Perhaps the deepest mystery is simply this: how did they do it? Not the ramps and levers, not the boats and sledges. How did they organize a project of this scale? How did they motivate tens of thousands of workers over decades to perfect a single monument? How did they achieve such precision with such simple tools? The Great Pyramid is not just a pile of stones. It is a testament to human organization, human ambition, human capability. It required a society that could plan decades into the future, that could coordinate the labor of a nation, that could pass knowledge from generation to generation. The pyramid builders were not primitive. They were brilliant. They were capable. They created something that we, with all our technology, would struggle to duplicate. And perhaps that is the real mystery. Not how they built it, but how we forgot that human beings could do such things. Let us follow the Great Pyramid through time. For 20 years, perhaps more, the pyramid was a construction site, a mountain rising from the desert, surrounded by ramps and scaffolding, crowded with workers. And then, one day, the last stone was set in place. The capstone crowned the summit. The white casing gleamed in the sun. The pyramid was complete. Khufu did not live to see it finished. His son Djedefre oversaw the final work, then built his own pyramid at Abu Rob, a few kilometers to the north. Khafre followed, then Menkaure. The fourth dynasty flourished. But dynasties do not last forever. The Old Kingdom collapsed around 2125 before the Common Era, roughly 4 centuries after Khufu's death. The reasons are debated: climate change, political fragmentation, the exhaustion of resources, the hubris of pharaohs who spent too much on monuments. Egypt fractured into competing kingdoms. The age of pyramid building came to an end. The pyramids of Giza were no longer tended by powerful cults. The mortuary temples fell into disrepair. The offerings stopped. The priests scattered. It was during this chaotic period, scholars believe, that the pyramids were first robbed. The carefully sealed passages were breached. The granite plugs were bypassed. The treasures that had accompanied the pharaohs to eternity were stripped away. We do not know what was taken. Gold, certainly. Jewelry. Precious objects. Perhaps the mummies themselves, torn from their sarcophagi by thieves seeking amulets wrapped in the linen bandages. By the time order was restored, the pyramids were empty. But the pyramids themselves endured. The Middle Kingdom came and went. The New Kingdom rose, the age of Tutankhamun and Ramesses, of the Valley of the Kings, of temples at Karnak and Abu Simbel. The pharaohs no longer built pyramids for themselves, but they remembered the old monuments. Thutmose IV cleared the sand from the Sphinx and erected his dream stela. Ramesses too carved his name on older monuments, claiming credit for works he did not build. The pyramids became tourist attractions for Egyptian royalty, ancient wonders in an age that was itself ancient. Then came the Persians. In 525 before the Common Era, the Persian king Cambyses conquered Egypt. For 2 centuries, Egypt was a province of the Persian Empire, still prosperous, still populated, but no longer independent. The pyramids watched as foreign kings sat on Egyptian thrones. Then came the Greeks. Alexander the Great conquered Egypt in 332 before the Common Era. After his death, his general Ptolemy took control, founding a dynasty that would rule for 3 centuries. Greek became the language of government. Alexandria became the capital. The pyramids watched as Cleopatra loved and lost, as Rome reached out its hand toward the Nile. Then came the Romans. After Cleopatra's death in 30 before the Common Era, Egypt became a Roman province. Roman tourists visited the pyramids, leaving graffiti on the ancient stones, names and dates and expressions of wonder. The pyramids watched as Rome rose and fell, as Christianity spread, as the ancient gods were forgotten. Then came the Arabs. In 641 of the Common Era, Arab armies conquered Egypt. Islam replaced Christianity as the dominant faith. Arabic replaced Greek as the language of learning. Cairo was founded, eventually growing to encompass the ancient city of Memphis. It was during the Arab period that the pyramids were most damaged. The casing stones, those gleaming white blocks that had made the pyramids shine, were stripped away to build mosques and fortresses in Cairo. The earthquake of 1303 loosened many stones, making them easier to remove. By the 15th century, the pyramids looked much as they do today. Stepped mountains of weathered limestone, their original glory hidden beneath centuries of erosion and theft. Then came the Europeans. Napoleon's expedition in 1798 brought not just soldiers but scholars. They measured and mapped, sketched and speculated. Their publication, the Description de l'Egypte, introduced the pyramids to the Western world. Then came the archaeologists Belzoni and Weiss, Petrie and Reisner, generations of excavators who carefully uncovered what remained. They discovered the workers' village. They found the solar boats. They detected the hidden voids. Slowly, painstakingly, they learned what the pyramids had to teach. And now we are here, in the 21st century, with muon detectors and laser scanners, and the accumulated knowledge of 200 years of Egyptology. And still the pyramids keep their secrets. Still they stand as they have stood for 45 centuries, watching, waiting, enduring. What is it like to visit the Great Pyramid today? The Giza Plateau is no longer an isolated desert site. The city of Cairo has grown to surround it, a metropolis of 20 million people pressing against the ancient necropolis. When you approach Giza, you drive through crowded streets of apartment buildings and shops, through traffic and noise and the chaos of modern urban life. And then, suddenly, the pyramids appear. They rise above the rooftops, impossible to ignore, impossible to prepare for. No matter how many photographs you have seen, no matter how much you think you know, the reality is always shocking. They are too big, too old, too present. The site is managed now. There are ticket booths and turnstiles, guides and guards, tour buses and souvenir vendors. On busy days, thousands of visitors stream across the plateau, tourists from every country, speaking every language, photographing everything. And yet the pyramids remain themselves. You can walk around the base of the Great Pyramid, touching the same stones that the ancient builders placed. You can enter through the Robbers' Tunnel, descending into the heart of the monument. You can climb the Grand Gallery, feeling the weight of history pressing down from above. You can stand in the King's Chamber, in the profound silence of that granite room, and you can feel, truly feel, the presence of 4,500 years. The experience is different for everyone. Some visitors feel wonder, the sheer scale of the monuments, the precision of the construction, the audacity of the ancient dream. These things inspire awe. Some visitors feel connection. They imagine the workers who built these pyramids, the pharaohs who commanded them, the generations of visitors who have walked these same paths. They feel themselves part of a human chain stretching back to the beginning of civilization. Some visitors feel peace. Despite the crowds, despite the noise, despite the modern world pressing in from every side, there is something profoundly calming about the pyramids. They have endured so much. They will endure so much more. In their presence, the worries of ordinary life seem very small, and some visitors feel mystery. They stand before the ancient stones and they ask themselves, how? And why? And what else is there to discover? The pyramids do not answer. They only stand as they have always stood, waiting for more questions. Let us return to the plateau. It is before dawn. The air is cool, almost cold, a surprise in a land known for heat. The stars are still visible, scattered across the dark sky, but they are beginning to fade. The eastern horizon is lightening, shifting from black to deep blue to purple. The pyramids are silhouettes against the coming light. Vast, dark triangles. the oldest monuments still standing, watching, as they have watched for 4.5 millennia, the daily miracle of the sun's return. There is no sound but the wind. The tourists have not yet arrived. The modern city of Cairo and Giza, sprawling to the east, is still sleeping. You are alone with the pyramids, alone with the stars, alone with the weight of time. The light grows. The horizon begins to glow, not with color yet, but with light itself, a brightness gathering strength, pushing back the night. The stars fade one by one, surrendering to the coming day. And then the sun appears. A sliver of gold breaks the horizon, a spark of fire. It rises slowly, majestically, as it has risen every day since before humans existed, as it will rise long after the pyramids themselves have crumbled to dust. The light touches the pyramids. First the peaks catch the gold, the tips of the great triangles glowing against the still dark sky. Then the light slides down the faces, painting each course of stone, warming each weathered block. The pyramids shift from grey to pink to gold. This is what the ancient Egyptians saw. Not exactly this, their pyramids were covered in gleaming white limestone, and the sunrise would have been even more spectacular, the entire surface blazing with reflected light. But the essential experience was the same. The sun rising, the pyramids catching the light, the day beginning again, as it had always begun, as it would always begin. The ancient Egyptians called the pyramid Akhet Khufu, the horizon of Khufu. At sunrise, watching the light touch the peak and flow down the sides, you understand the name. The pyramid is a horizon, a place where the sun meets the earth, a place where the dead Pharaoh could rise again with the morning light. The long shadows stretch westward across the plateau, reaching toward the desert, toward the realm of the dead. But the light is triumphant. The sun has returned. The cycle continues. You feel small, standing here. Small and brief and mortal, but you also feel connected to the builders who watched this same sunrise, to the Pharaoh who dreamed of eternity, to all the visitors who have stood here through the centuries, watching the light return. The sun climbs higher. The shadows shorten. The day begins. Let us return once more to the interior of the pyramid. Not to explore, not to measure or photograph or study, simply to be. To sit in silence in the king's chamber and feel the weight of time. You are 47 meters above the ground, buried in millions of tons of stone. Above you, 5 relieving chambers hold back the crushing weight of the pyramid. Below you, the grand gallery slopes away into darkness. Around you, the granite walls absorb every sound. The silence here is not ordinary silence. It is profound. It is physical. It presses against your ears like water pressure in the deep ocean. The massive blocks of limestone and granite absorb sound so effectively that the chamber feels almost vacuum-sealed, cut off from the world outside. This is the silence that Khufu's mummy knew, the silence of 4,500 years, broken only by tomb robbers and explorers, by scientists and tourists. The silence that will continue long after you leave, long after everyone now living has returned to dust. The air is still. There is no wind here, no weather. The temperature remains constant, about 20 degrees Celsius, about 68 Fahrenheit, regardless of the scorching heat or desert cold outside. The pyramid is its own climate, its own world. You sit with your back against the cool granite wall. You close your eyes. You breathe slowly, deeply. The stone is cool against your spine. The darkness is absolute behind your eyelids. The silence surrounds you, holds you, swallows you. You are in the heart of the pyramid. The heart of 4.5 millennia. The heart of human ambition and human mystery. What did the ancient priests feel, sealing this chamber for the final time? They had laid their pharaoh in his sarcophagus. They had performed the rituals that would ensure his journey to the stars. They had placed the offerings that would sustain him in the afterlife. And then they had left, backing down the passages, sealing the granite plugs behind them, leaving the pharaoh alone in the darkness. Did they feel awe, reverence, fear, relief? We cannot know. They left no record of their feelings. They left only the pyramid itself, this vast, silent, eternal structure that has outlasted everything they knew. The dynasty fell. The old kingdom ended. Empires rose and fell. Languages were born and died. Technologies advanced. Civilizations crumbled, and the pyramid endured, silent, patient, waiting. Let us return one more time to the age of construction. It is night at Height El Ghurab, the workers' village. The day's work is done. The hauling crews have returned from the pyramid. The masons have set down their tools. The overseers have made their final counts. The smell of roasting meat drifts through the settlement. Tonight, as on many nights, the workers eat well. Beef and mutton, bread and onions, beer that flows freely from the state breweries. The Pharaoh provides for those who build his eternity. In the long galleries where the workers sleep, oil lamps cast flickering shadows on the walls. Men sit in groups, eating their evening meal, talking quietly. Some speak of home, the families they have left behind, the fields that wait for their return. Some speak of work, the challenges of the day, the satisfaction of a well-placed stone. An older worker is telling a story. He has been on pyramid projects for many years, first at Dosha, under the great Snefru, and now here at Giza. He knows things that younger workers are eager to hear. He speaks of the day the bent pyramid's angle had to be changed, how the architects realized the slope was too steep, that the weight would crack the structure, how they made the decision to reduce the angle, creating the distinctive bent shape that gives the pyramid its name. The young workers listen, fascinated. This is living history, stories passed from generation to generation, knowledge that will eventually be lost when the last pyramid builder dies. In another part of the village, the overseers have their own quarters. They eat separately, sleep in better accommodations, enjoy privileges that reflect their status. Some are scribes, educated men who can read and write, who keep the records that track every stone and every worker. Tonight, a scribe is updating his papyrus. He records the day's deliveries, so many stones from the local quarry, so many casing stones from the boats, so many blocks lifted into place. He notes which crews met their targets and which fell short. He calculates the food supplies needed for tomorrow. This bureaucracy is as essential to the pyramid as the stone itself. Without organization, without records, without planning, the project would collapse into chaos. The pyramid is built on papyrus as much as limestone. In the medical facility, yes, there was one. A physician tends to an injured worker. The man crushed his hand between two stones earlier in the day. The physician has set the bones, applied a splint, given the patient beer to dull the pain. This is not the treatment of slaves. This is the treatment of valued workers whom the state wants to heal and return to work. The bones will mend. The man will recover. He will tell stories of his injury for the rest of his life. Elsewhere, a priest performs the evening rituals. Even in a workers' village, the gods must be honored. The workers pray to Khnum, the ram-headed god who shaped humans on his potter's wheel. They pray to Ta, the god of craftsmen. They pray to the deified Pharaoh Snefru, Khufu's father, who has become a patron god of pyramid workers. As the night deepens, the village grows quiet. The lamps are extinguished, one by one. The conversations fade to murmurs, then to silence. The workers lie on their reed mats, exhausted from the day's labor, preparing for the labor of tomorrow. Some dream of home. Some dream of the pyramid, the massive structure they are building stone by stone, day by day. Some dream of the Pharaoh, the living god who commands this work, who will live forever in the monument they create. And outside, in the darkness, the pyramid rises against the stars. It is not yet complete. The upper courses are still being laid. The casing stones are still being fitted. The capstone has not yet been placed, but it is already massive, already magnificent, already unlike anything the world has ever seen. The workers sleep, and the pyramid waits for morning. Let us consider the stars. In ancient Egypt, before electric lights, before city glow, the night sky was a tapestry of infinite wonder. Thousands upon thousands of stars were visible, not the handful we see through modern light pollution, but a sky so thick with light that the darkness seemed an illusion. The Milky Way stretched across the heavens like a river, and the Egyptians saw it as exactly that, a river in the sky corresponding to the Nile below. As above, so below. the cosmic order reflected in the earthly landscape. The circumpolar stars held special significance. These are the stars that never set, the ones that wheel eternally around the celestial North Pole, always visible, always present. The ancient Egyptians called them the imperishable stars. They believed that the souls of worthy pharaohs would join these eternal lights, sailing in celestial boats around the pole forever. In Khufu's time, the pole star was not polaris as it is today. The Earth's axis wobbles slowly, and the pole points to different stars over the millennia. 4,500 years ago, the pole star was Thuban, in the constellation Draco, the dragon that coils around the celestial pole. The descending passage of the Great Pyramid, at the time of construction, pointed directly at Thuban when the star was at its lowest point in the sky. This may have been intentional, a corridor aimed at the imperishable stars, a pathway for the pharaoh's soul. Orion was equally important. The ancient Egyptians associated Orion with Osiris, the god of the dead and resurrection. Osiris was the king of the underworld, the judge of souls, the promise that death was not the end. When Orion rose in the east, the Egyptians saw their god returning, eternally dying and eternally reborn. The southern shaft of the king's chamber, at the time of construction, pointed toward Orion's belt. This may have been the pharaoh's pathway to Osiris, a corridor through which his soul could travel to join the gods. And Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, was associated with Isis, the sister and wife of Osiris. Her star's annual reappearance before dawn coincided with the flooding of the Nile, the renewal of the land, the beginning of the agricultural year. The southern shaft of the queen's chamber pointed towards Sirius. The pyramid was aligned to the cosmos. It was not merely a tomb, but a cosmic machine, designed to connect the pharaoh to the eternal dance of the stars. Tonight, if you could stand on the Giza Plateau without the glow of modern Cairo, you would see much of what the builders saw. Orion would rise in the east, his belt 3 stars in a row. Sirius would follow, blazing blue-white, the brightest point in the sky. The Milky Way would arch overhead, a river of ancient light, and the pyramids would stand in darkness, triangles of shadow against the stellar backdrop, monuments pointing toward the heavens they were built to reach. The stars have not changed. The constellations still wheel across the sky. The same light that touched the eyes of pyramid builders now touches yours. In a universe of constant change, there are continuities. The stars are one. The pyramids are another. The day has passed. The sun has crossed the sky, and now it descends toward the western horizon, toward the land of the dead. The shadows lengthen. The heat of the day begins to break. The light turns golden, then orange, then the deep red that Egyptians associate with the desert, with Deshret, with the realm of Set. If you stand near the Sphinx and look west, you will see the sun setting directly behind the Great Pyramid. The pyramid becomes a silhouette, a perfect triangle of blackness against the blazing sky. The last light of day frames it in fire. This is what the builders saw. This is what the pharaohs saw. This is what countless pilgrims, explorers, soldiers, and dreamers have seen across 4,500 years. The sun dies in the west. The pharaoh dies. But like the sun, the pharaoh will rise again. The sky shifts through colors, gold to orange to crimson to purple to deep blue. The first stars appear, pricking through the darkening dome. Venus, perhaps, the evening star, bright in the west. Then fainter stars, then more, until the Milky Way stretches across the heavens like a river of light. In ancient times, before electric lights, before city glow, the night sky over Giza would have been spectacular. The Milky Way would have been bright enough to cast shadows. Thousands of stars would have been visible. The constellations, Orion rising in the east, the circumpolar stars wheeling around the north, would have seemed close enough to touch. The ancient Egyptians believed the pharaoh's soul would join the imperishable stars, the circumpolar stars that never set below the horizon, that wheel eternally around the celestial pole. The shafts in the pyramid may have been designed to point his spirit toward these eternal lights. Tonight, as every night, the stars rise and set and rise again. The same stars the builders watched, the same stars their descendants watch, and their descendants will watch until the stars themselves burn out. Let us walk across the plateau one more time. It is late now. The last tour buses departed hours ago. The site is closed to visitors, the gates locked, the guards settled into their posts. The modern world has withdrawn, leaving the ancient monuments to the night. The sand is cool beneath your feet. During the day, it would be too hot to touch, but now it has released its heat to the desert air. You can feel individual grains pressing against your skin, grains that were once solid rock, worn down over millions of years into this fine powder. The wind has died. In the afternoon, the desert wind can be fierce, hot and dry, carrying sand that stings exposed skin, creating small dunes against the base of the monuments. But now the air is still. Not a whisper, not a breath, not a single grain of sand in motion. The silence of the desert at night is not like any other silence. It is deeper than the silence of a quiet room. It is older than the silence of a sleeping forest. It is the silence of a place that has known solitude since before there were ears to hear. If you stood here before the pyramids were built, 6,000 years ago, 8,000, 10,000, the silence would have been the same. The sand, the stars, the darkness, the vast emptiness of a world not yet shaped by human hands. The temperature is dropping. The desert is a place of extremes. During the day, it can reach 45 degrees Celsius, hot enough to kill an unprotected person in hours. At night, it can drop below freezing. The sand that was too hot to touch at noon will be too cold to sit on by dawn. But right now, the temperature is perfect. The day's heat has faded, but the deep chill has not yet set in. The air is cool and fresh, as if the desert were taking a deep breath before the cold arrives. Wrap your arms around yourself. Not because you are cold yet, but because the gesture feels right. You are alone in the desert night, surrounded by monuments that have outlasted empires, and the sky above you is vast beyond comprehension. Look up. In the cities where most of us live, we are lucky to see a handful of stars. Light pollution has robbed us of the night sky our ancestors knew. But here, far from the city center, the stars are returning. There are hundreds of them. Thousands. More than you have ever seen. The Milky Way stretches overhead like a river of light, exactly as the ancient Egyptians described it. The constellations wheel slowly across the dome of heaven: Orion the hunter, Sirius the dog star, the bear that never sets. This is the sky the pyramid builders saw. This is the sky they built their monuments to reach. Turn back to the pyramids. They are silhouettes now, massive triangles of darkness against the star-studded sky. No detail is visible. No individual stone, no texture or color, just pure geometric form, rising from the desert floor toward the heavens. From this distance, you can see all three. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, largest of all. The Pyramid of Khafra, appearing slightly taller because it sits on higher ground. The smaller Pyramid of Menkaure, modest by comparison but still larger than most buildings you have ever entered. 3 pharaohs, 3 dreams. 3 monuments to the human desire to outlast death. The Sphinx is there too, though you cannot see it clearly in the darkness. It sits in its hollow, facing east, waiting for the sunrise that will touch its face in a few hours. It has waited for sunrise 4,500 times 365 days, more than 1,600,000 sunrises. And it will wait for millions more. What does the Sphinx think about, if it thinks at all? Perhaps it thinks about the pharaohs it once served. Perhaps it thinks about the endless sand that keeps trying to bury it. Perhaps it thinks about nothing at all. Perhaps it simply exists, patient and eternal, waiting for whatever comes next. The night deepens around you. The stars grow brighter as your eyes adjust. The air grows cooler as the hours pass. The pyramids stand in their timeless watch, as they have stood every night for 4,500 years. You are tired now. The walking, the wandering, the weight of history, they have taken their toll. Your legs are heavy. Your eyelids are heavy. Your mind, which has been so full of facts and images and questions, is beginning to quiet. Find a place to rest. Perhaps in the shadow of a stone, where the sand has piled soft and deep. Perhaps against a low wall, where you can lean back and look up at the stars. Perhaps simply where you are, sinking down onto the cool sand, letting the desert hold you as it has held travelers for millennia. The pyramid watches over you. It does not judge. It does not comment. It simply stands, as it has always stood, as it will stand long after you have returned to the world of clocks and schedules and responsibilities. For now, there is only this: the desert, the stars, the ancient stone, and you. Rest now. The night is deep and the pyramids are eternal. The night deepens over Giza. The tourists are gone. The guards walk their rounds, their flashlight beams sweeping across the ancient stones. The city hums in the distance, traffic and voices, the modern world continuing its restless churn. But here, on the plateau, the pyramids stand in silence. They have stood here for 4,500 years. They have watched empires rise and fall, the Old Kingdom and the Middle Kingdom and the New Kingdom, the Persians and the Greeks and the Romans, the Arabs and the Ottomans and the British. Now Egypt is Egypt again, but a different Egypt, modern, bustling, connected to a world the ancient builders could never have imagined. The pyramids have watched it all, and they do not comment. They do not explain. They simply stand patient and eternal, waiting for whatever comes next. You have walked through these monuments today. You have descended into the darkness of the subterranean chamber. You have climbed the grand gallery. You have stood in the king's chamber, feeling the weight of stone above you. You have learned things, facts and theories, names and dates. Khufu and Mira, Snefru and Hetepheres. The workers who ate beef and the boats that carried limestone. The hidden voids and the sealed shafts and the mysteries that remain. But none of that matters now. Now, in the darkness, what matters is simpler. A mountain of stone. A dream of eternity. A monument that has outlasted everything except the stars. Let the facts drift away. Let the names fade. Let the theories and debates return to the scholars who care about such things. You are here. You are now. And the pyramid is here too, as it has always been here, as it will be here when you are gone. That is enough. That is more than enough. Let us descend together, slowly, gently, into the deep places of rest. Imagine you are standing at the entrance to the pyramid. The night sky spreads above you, thick with stars. The ancient stones are cool beneath your feet. The doorway opens before you, leading down into darkness. You begin to descend. The descending passage slopes gently downward. Your hand trails along the smooth limestone wall. Each step takes you deeper, further from the world above, closer to the still heart of the mountain. The starlight fades behind you. The passage narrows around you. But you are not afraid. You are simply going down, step by step, into the silence. The air grows cooler as you descend. The sounds of the outside world fade. First the wind, then the distant city, then even the soft shuffle of your own footsteps. The pyramid absorbs everything. The pyramid holds you. You are safe here. You have always been safe here. For 4,500 years, the pyramid has held this silence. For 4,500 years, this passage has led downward into the dark. You are only the latest visitor. You are held by the same stones that held the priests, the pharaohs, the builders themselves. Deeper now. The passage continues, gentle and steady. You do not need to see where you are going. The walls guide you. The floor supports you. The pyramid knows the way. Down, and down, and down. The bedrock is beneath you now. You have passed from the built structure into the living rock of the plateau. The same rock that has been here for millions of years. The same rock that will be here for millions more. You are part of something vast. Something ancient. Something that will outlast all the small worries of your waking life. Rest now. Let the stone hold you. You have reached the subterranean chamber. This is the deepest place. The quietest place. The place where the earth itself holds you in its cool embrace. There is no light here. There is no sound. There is only the weight of stone above and the solid rock below, and you, suspended between them, held in perfect stillness. The ancient builders left this chamber unfinished. The walls are rough, the floor uneven, the work abandoned for reasons we will never know. But perhaps that is fitting. Some things do not need to be finished. Some things are perfect in their incompleteness. Some places are meant for waiting, for resting, for holding the silence until the end of time. You are such a place now. You are unfinished work. You are a chamber in progress. You are here in the darkness, resting, waiting, breathing. And that is enough. Let your body grow heavy. Feel the cool of the rock beneath you. Feel the weight of the stone above you. Feel the millions of tons of the pyramid holding you, protecting you, keeping you safe. Your arms are heavy. Your legs are heavy. Your eyelids are heavy. There is no need to move. There is no need to think. There is only this chamber, this darkness, this ancient and perfect silence. Breathe slowly, in and out, like the tide, like the seasons, like the endless cycle of stars rising and setting over the plateau. In and out, in and out. You are sinking now, sinking into rest, sinking into the deep places where dreams begin. The pyramid holds you, the earth holds you, the silence holds you. You are safe. You are held. You are home. The night continues above the pyramid. The stars wheel slowly across the sky, as they have wheeled for billions of years, as they will wheel for billions more. Orion rises in the east. The circumpolar stars turn their endless circle around the pole. The Milky Way stretches from horizon to horizon, a river of ancient light. But you do not need to watch the stars. You are below them. You are held in the deep earth, cradled by stone, surrounded by silence. The pyramid dreams its slow dreams. What does a pyramid dream of? Perhaps of the workers who built it, their songs and their labor, their pride in their creation. Perhaps of the Pharaoh who lies within it, journeying forever through the afterlife. Perhaps of the sun rising and setting, a rhythm as old as the earth itself. You do not need to know what the pyramid dreams. You only need to rest in its shadow, in its shelter, in its eternal embrace. The silence is complete now. Not empty silence, but full silence. The silence of 4,500 years. The silence of stone and stillness and perfect peace. This silence has held the secrets of pharaohs. It has witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations. It has watched the stars shift in their courses. The constellations change their shapes. The very poles star drift from one point in the heavens to another. And now it holds you. Gently. Safely. Completely. Let the silence fill you. Let it flow into your mind like cool water, washing away the day's concerns, the week's worries, the accumulated noise of your waking life. There is nothing to think about. Nothing to solve. Nothing to decide. There is only this. The pyramid, the darkness, the silence, and you. Your breath is slow now. Slow and deep and even. Each breath carries you deeper into rest. Each breath settles you more completely into the cool embrace of the earth. In and out. In and out. Like waves on a distant shore. Like wind across the desert's sand. Like the eternal rhythm of day and night, sun and moon, light and darkness. The weight of the pyramid is above you, but it is not pressing down. It is holding you up. It is protecting you from the world above, from the noise, the light, the endless demands of waking life. Here, in the deep place, there are no demands. There are no schedules. There are no expectations. There is only rest, only sleep, only the ancient, patient peace of stone. The hours pass. Above the pyramid, the stars continue their journey. The moon rises, silver and silent. The desert cools. The wind settles into stillness. But here, in the deep chamber, nothing changes. The temperature is constant. The darkness is complete. The silence is eternal. This is the peace that the ancient pharaohs sought. This is the eternity they dreamed of. Not movement, but stillness. Not change, but permanence. Not the brief flicker of mortal life, but the long, slow rest of ages. And now that peace is yours. Sleep now. Sleep deeply. Sleep the sleep of the ancient ones, who built their monuments to last forever. The pyramid holds you. The earth holds you. The silence holds you. You are safe. Let go now. Let go of everything. Let go of the day. Let go of the world. Let go of every thought and worry and care. The pyramid will keep them for you. The pyramid has kept secrets for 4,500 years. It can keep yours for one night. Drift now. Drift down into the deep places. Drift down like sand settling through water. Drift down like starlight falling through the night. Drift down like the slow, patient flow of the Nile, carrying you toward the sea of sleep. You are almost there now. Almost at the place where dreams begin. Almost at the bottom of the deep well of rest. Let yourself arrive. Let yourself sink into sleep like sinking into soft sand, like sinking into cool water, like sinking into the arms of someone who has been waiting for you since the beginning of time. Sleep. The pyramid watches over you. Sleep. The stars turn their ancient wheel. Sleep. The night holds you. The silence holds you. The stone holds you. And down below the dreams, below the thoughts, below everything that makes you you, there is peace. There has always been peace. It was here before the pyramid was built. It will be here after the pyramid has crumbled to dust. It is the peace of the universe itself, the peace of stars and stones, and the slow turning of ages. And it is yours. It has always been yours. Sleep now. Rest now. The pyramid is eternal. The night is endless, and you are held, cradled, protected in the heart of the ancient world. Sleep. Sleep. The night continues. Somewhere above the pyramid, the first faint hint of dawn is beginning to show, but that is hours away yet. Hours and hours of sweet, deep darkness. You do not need to wake. You do not need to think. You do not need to do anything at all. The stars are setting now, the late night stars, the ones that rose at midnight. They are sinking toward the western horizon, following the sun's ancient path, disappearing one by one into the desert. But new stars are rising in the east. New patterns. New lights. The sky is never truly dark. It is always changing, always shifting, always revealing new beauty. Like dreams. Like the slow unfolding of the mind at rest. You are deep in sleep now, so deep that the world above seems far away. So deep that the concerns of your waking life are like distant memories, like stories that happened to someone else. This is where healing happens. This is where rest is real. This is where the mind lets go of everything it has been carrying and simply floats. Float now. Float in the darkness. Float in the silence. Float in the deep, cool heart of the pyramid. The ancient Egyptians believed that the soul had many parts. There was the ka, the life force, the vital essence that animated the body. There was the ba, the personality, the unique self that made each person who they were. There was the ark, the transformed spirit, the glorified form the soul would take in the afterlife. Right now, in this deep rest, all the parts of you are at peace. Your body rests. Your mind rests. Your spirit rests. All the scattered pieces of your day are coming together, settling like sand after a storm, finding their proper places. You are becoming whole. You are becoming complete. You are becoming the person you will wake up as, renewed and restored. The pyramid has witnessed 4,500 years of nights like this. Millions of nights. Billions of stars. Countless sleepers dreaming in its shadow. You are part of something ancient. Part of something that stretches back to the beginning of civilization and forward to its end. Part of the long human story of building and dreaming, of creating monuments that outlast our brief lives. But you do not need to think about that now. You only need to rest. The night is almost over now. Far in the east, the sky is beginning to lighten, not yet dawn, but the promise of dawn, the first whisper of the sun's return. But you are still deep in the pyramid. Still deep in sleep, still held in the ancient silence. The dawn will come. The day will begin. You will wake, refreshed and renewed. But not yet. Not yet. For now there is only this, the pyramid, the silence, the deep peace of the ancient world. For now there is only rest. For now there is only you, cradled in stone, surrounded by millennia, held in the heart of human history. Sleep on. Sleep deeply. Sleep the sleep of pharaohs. Feel the stone around you, not just with your hands or your skin, but with your whole body. The stone is everywhere, above you, below you, on every side. It has been here for 4,500 years. It will be here for 4,500 more. The weight of it is not oppressive. It is comforting. It is protection. Nothing can reach you here. No sound, no light, no worry, no care. The stone has sealed you in its embrace, and it will hold you until morning. Let your body grow heavy. Starting with your feet. Feel them growing heavy, sinking into the cool stone floor. Feel the muscles in your ankles relax, releasing tension you did not know you were holding. Feel your calves grow heavy, your knees, your thighs. Heavy. So heavy. Too heavy to move. Now your hips. Feel the weight of them settling. Feel the muscles of your lower back releasing, letting go of the day's work, the day's worries, the day's accumulated stress. Feel your spine settling, vertebra by vertebra, into perfect alignment. Heavy. So heavy. Supported by stone. Now your shoulders. Feel them drop. Feel the tension that lives in them, the tension of hunched computers, of carried bags, of 1,000 small stresses. Feel it drain away. Feel your arms grow heavy at your sides. Feel your hands relax, your fingers uncurl. Heavy. So heavy. Held by the pyramid. Now your neck. The muscles that have held your head upright all day can finally rest. Your head sinks into whatever supports it. Your jaw releases. Your tongue settles. Your eyes, behind closed lids, grow still. Heavy. So heavy. At peace at last. Now your face. The small muscles around your eyes relax. The furrow in your brow smooths. The tension in your temples eases. Your cheeks soften. Your whole face becomes peaceful, unlined, at rest. You are heavy now. Heavy and still and completely at peace. The stone supports you perfectly. It has supported the weight of millions of tons for millennia. It can support you easily. It does not strain. It does not shift. It simply holds, as it has always held, as it will always hold. Give your weight to the stone. Let it carry you. Let it hold you. Let it keep you safe through the long hours of the night. The silence of the pyramid is deeper now. At first, you could hear small things, the sound of your own breathing, the pulse of blood in your ears, the distant memory of the world above. But those sounds have faded. They have been absorbed by the stone, swallowed by the darkness, dissolved into the eternal quiet. Now there is only silence. Not the silence of an empty room. Not the silence of a sleeping house. The silence of ages. The silence that was here before humans existed. The silence that will be here after humans are gone. In this silence, you can rest completely. There is nothing to listen for. No alarm will sound. No voice will call. No sudden noise will startle you awake. The pyramid has guarded this silence for 4,500 years, and it will guard it for the rest of this night. Let your ears relax. Let your hearing rest. Let the silence fill you like water filling a vessel, rising slowly, peacefully, until you are brimming with quiet. The darkness is complete now too. Your eyes have nothing to see. No shape, no shadow, no gradation of light. Just pure darkness, absolute and restful. The darkness that the Pharaoh knew. The darkness that has been here since the pyramid was sealed. Let your eyes rest behind closed lids. Let them stop searching for light. Stop trying to see. In this darkness, there is nothing to see. In this darkness, seeing is not necessary. In this darkness, you can simply be, and your mind is growing quieter too. The thoughts that churned earlier, the facts about the pyramid, the images of workers and pharaohs, the questions about how and why, they have settled like sand after a storm. The surface of your mind is growing smooth, growing still, growing peaceful. You do not need to think. You do not need to remember. You do not need to understand. The pyramid understands. The stone remembers. The silence knows. All you need to do is rest. In the deepest part of the night, something changes. The world grows quieter than quiet. The stars reach their highest point in the sky. The darkness is at its most complete, its most absolute, its most restful. This is the hour when the ancient priests believed the sun god Ra was traveling through the underworld. In his solar boat, he journeyed through 12 gates, facing challenges and enemies, dying and being reborn. At this hour, the darkest hour, he was at the midpoint of his journey. The deepest point, the turning point. And in the pyramid, in the deep chamber where you rest, there is only stillness. The stone has been here for so long that it has forgotten what it means to move. The air has been still for so long that it has forgotten what it means to stir. The silence has been unbroken for so long that it has become something more than silence. It has become peace itself. Let your body remember what stillness means. Your arms are heavy on the stone. Your legs are heavy on the stone. Your head is heavy, sinking into the cool darkness, letting go of everything it has been holding. The thoughts that troubled you earlier, whatever they were, have dissolved. They were never real. They were only stories your mind was telling itself. Now the stories have ended, and there is only quiet. The pyramid breathes with you. Not literally, stone does not breathe, but in the deep stillness of the night, it seems as if the entire structure is alive. As if it is resting, just as you are resting. As if it is dreaming, just as you are dreaming. Perhaps it dreams of the Pharaoh who built it. Perhaps it dreams of the workers who raised its stones. Perhaps it dreams of all the visitors who have entered its passages over the millennia, Greek historians and Roman soldiers, Arab explorers and European scholars, tourists and pilgrims from every corner of the world. Perhaps it dreams of you. The Nile flows in the distance. You cannot hear it from here. It is too far away, and the pyramid walls are too thick. Did you know it is there? The ancient river, flowing north as it has always flowed, carrying the waters of distant mountains to the sea. The same river that carried the limestone blocks to build this pyramid. The same river that flooded each year to renew the land. The same river that gave life to Egypt for thousands of years before the pyramids, and will give life for thousands of years after. The river does not hurry. It simply flows. And in the deep hours of the night, you can learn from the river. Let your thoughts flow. Let them move through your mind like water through a channel. Do not try to stop them. Do not try to hold them. Simply let them pass, and pass, and pass, until there are no more thoughts, only the quiet movement of the mind at rest. The desert holds the pyramid. Mile after mile of sand and rock, stretching to every horizon. In the deep hours of the night, the desert is cold, cold as the heart of winter, cold as the spaces between stars. The heat of the day is a distant memory. The chill of the night has settled over everything, but inside the pyramid, the temperature is constant. The thick walls of limestone and granite protect you from the cold outside, just as they protected the Pharaoh from the chaos of the world above. Here, in the heart of the monument, the temperature never changes. The air is always still. The darkness is always complete. You are cocooned in stone. Protected. Safe. The hours pass like the turning of great wheels. Above you, the stars wheel around the pole. Below you, the earth turns on its axis. And somewhere in between, suspended in perfect stillness, you rest. You do not need to track the hours. You do not need to know what time it is. Time has ceased to matter. There is only this, the stone, the silence, the deep peace of the pyramid. Let your breathing deepen, in slowly, completely. Feel your lungs fill with the cool, ancient air. Hold it for a moment, not straining, just resting. Then let it go, slowly, completely, feeling your body sink deeper into the stone. Again, in, slowly, completely. And out, slowly, completely. Each breath carries you deeper. Each breath settles you more completely. Each breath connects you to the rhythm of the universe itself, the rhythm of tides and seasons, of stars and planets, of life and death and rebirth. The ancient Egyptians believed in eternity, not just the eternity of the gods, but the eternity of the human soul. They believed that if the proper rituals were performed, if the body was preserved, if the name was remembered, a person could live forever. The pyramid was part of this belief, a house for eternity, a machine for immortality. And in a sense, they were right. Khufu's body is gone. His treasures are scattered. His name is known only to those who study ancient history. But his pyramid remains. His monument endures. His dream of eternity was not entirely a dream, and tonight, 4,500 years later, you are resting in the shadow of that dream. The night will end eventually. The sun will rise. The stars will fade. The world will wake and begin its daily churn of activity and noise. But that is hours away. Hours and hours of deep, restorative rest. For now, there is only this: the pyramid, the silence, the darkness, and you. For now, there is only peace. Sleep. Let the pyramid hold you. Let the millennia embrace you. Let the ancient piece of stone and silence carry you through the night. The deepest part of the night has passed. Somewhere in the east, so far away that it is not yet visible, the first light of dawn is gathering. The earth is turning toward the sun. The darkness is beginning, ever so slowly, to thin. But here, in the heart of the pyramid, nothing has changed. The stone is still cool. The air is still still. The silence is still complete. You have rested well. Deep in your body, processes of renewal have been at work all night. Cells have been repaired. Memories have been consolidated. The day's stress has been dissolved, processed, released. You are not the same person you were when you closed your eyes. You are renewed. You are restored. You are ready for whatever the new day will bring. But there is no hurry to embrace that day. Not yet. Not for a while yet. The pharaohs understood the importance of rest. They understood that even a living god needed time to withdraw from the world, to retreat into silence, to let the soul replenish itself. The pyramid was many things: a tomb, a temple, a cosmic machine, but it was also a place of deep rest. A place where the pharaoh could escape the demands of kingship and simply be. Tonight, you have shared that rest. You have entered the pharaoh's sanctuary. You have known the peace that Khufu himself may have known in those quiet hours before he joined the stars. The stars are beginning to fade now. One by one, the fainter stars are disappearing, washed out by the growing light in the east. Orion has moved across the sky and is sinking toward the western horizon. The Milky Way is thinning, its river of light becoming a ghost of itself. But the brightest stars remain. Sirius still blazes in the south. The circumpolar stars still wheel around the pole, as they have wheeled for billions of years. And the pyramid still stands, dark against the darkening night, eternal against the endless sky. Soon you will wake. Not yet. There is still time for rest, still time for dreams, still time for the deep peace of the night. But soon, the sun will rise. The world will call, and you will return to your life, carrying with you the memory of this night. When you wake, you will feel refreshed. The tiredness that brought you here will be gone. The worries that troubled you will seem smaller, more manageable, less urgent. You will remember that the pyramid has stood for 4,500 years, and that compared to that span of time, your troubles are very small indeed. You will remember that human beings built something that has outlasted empires, and that you carry in you the same capacity for greatness. You will remember that rest is not weakness. Rest is strength. Rest is how we prepare ourselves for the work of living. But for now, rest on. Let the last hours of night hold you gently. Let the pyramid keep its ancient watch over your sleep. Let the silence of 4,500 years wrap around you like a blanket. The dawn is coming. But not yet. Not yet. Sleep. 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 The stars fade. The dawn approaches. The world turns on. But the pyramid remains. The silence remains. The peace remains. And so do you. Resting. Dreaming. Held. In the east, far beyond the pyramid, the first hint of color is appearing on the horizon. Not yet visible from where you rest, but you can sense it. The world beginning to wake, the darkness beginning to thin, the night beginning to end its long reign. But here, in the heart of the pyramid, nothing has changed. The stone is still cool. The air is still still. The silence is still complete. The pyramid exists outside of time, beyond the reach of dawn and dusk, immune to the turning of the hours. The pharaohs understood this. They built their monuments to outlast the daily cycle of light and dark. They dreamed of eternity, not the eternity of one long day or one endless night, but the eternity that contains all days and all nights, that holds the sun and stars as a hand holds grains of sand. And they succeeded, in their way. The pyramid has seen 4,500 years of dawns. It will see 4,500 more. And in all that time, its interior remains the same, dark, cool, silent, eternal. You have rested in that eternity tonight. You have breathed the ancient air. You have felt the ancient stone. You have known the ancient silence that the pharaohs knew. That silence is part of you now. You carry it within you, a kernel of peace that cannot be disturbed by the noise of the waking world. Whenever you need it, you can return to it. Close your eyes, remember the stone, and the silence will be there. The pyramid will always be there. It was there before you were born. It will be there after you are gone. It connects you to something larger than yourself, to the long story of human civilization, to the ancient dream of permanence, to the eternal dance of stone and stars. You are part of that story now. You have entered the pyramid. You have walked its passages. You have stood in its chambers. You have rested in its heart. The pyramid has changed you, even if you do not know it yet. And somewhere in the workers' tombs that surround the great monument, the builders are still at rest. 4,500 years ago, they labored to create something eternal. They hauled the stones, fitted the blocks, raised the courses higher and higher toward the sky. They worked and sweated and grew old and died, never knowing that their creation would outlast everything else they knew. But they must have suspected. They must have looked at what they were building and felt, as we feel, the weight of time pressing on those massive stones. They must have known, in some deep part of themselves, that this was different. This was forever. Tonight, you have joined them. Across 45 centuries, you have shared their creation. You have known their monument as they meant it to be known, a place of rest, a house of eternity, a mountain of stone reaching toward the imperishable stars. Sleep now. The last hours of night are passing. The dawn is coming, but you need not rise with it. You can rest as long as you need. The pyramid will keep watch. Sleep. Let the ancient peace hold you. Let the eternal silence embrace you. Let the stone and stars carry you through the rest of the night. Closing when you wake, you will remember. Not the facts, perhaps. Not the numbers, the theories, the debates. Those will return if you need them, or they will fade like the morning mist. But you will remember this, that 4,500 years ago, human beings built a mountain of stone. That they worked with precision we can barely match. That they dreamed of eternity and made that dream real. You will remember that you are part of that same species, that you carry in you the same potential for greatness, that the builders of the pyramid are your ancestors, in spirit if not in blood. And you will remember, perhaps, this night, this rest, this deep peace in the heart of the ancient world. You can return here whenever you need to. Close your eyes, and the pyramid is there. The silence is there. The cool stone and the eternal darkness, and the stars wheeling overhead. It has been waiting for 4,500 years. It will wait for you. For now, rest on. Let the last hours of night hold you. Let the dream continue as long as it wants to continue. The sun will rise when it is ready. The world will call you when it is time. Until then, the pyramid is yours.